All right, that should be good. You have my stream still?
I'm going to click on yours right now. All right, bring this back up. I was just sitting there staring at my own, trying to make sure that my volume was going through. But I'm going to close that. I don't need to waste all that bandwidth. All right, let's see. Modding with KingGath. Yes, I can see your screen. I see you're moving around in some sort of cell. CK? Is
Yep.
that accurate? Beautiful. Okay.
Very jerky.
Sounds like I'm in the next room. What is going on here? Why is my sound all messed up? Sorry, guys. I have no idea why my volume would sound like I'm in the next room. When do you get control battle for Conk? Many months away still. That is a big project that's slowly getting done. The latest thing that we just dropped today for the patch that kind of sets the seeds for it. It allows you to plant different factions in the settlements and then giving them the AI capacity and intelligence to actually make decisions about who they should attack. That's a big deal. Like, that's going to take me a while to get coded. So but that's what we call phase 3. When that happens, there will be like a big announcement, probably a live stream, etc. And then as far as Nuka World integration, I've been slowly touching on that. I started doing some like fixes for some of the weird stuff with Nuka World. So there's already a patch available on the Conqueror page in the optional files for that. Okay, so today Monkey and I are going to do some modding, and today he's going to be teaching me some stuff too, because he knows a ton about something that not a lot of other people do. But Monkey is in his Diamond City mod right now. You can see if you're watching his stream. If you're not watching his stream right now, it's linked below in my description on YouTube. I didn't put it in the Twitch description because I am not logged into Twitch for some reason. I can post it in. Let me post it in the chat for people who are. So that way, at least there's one chance for people to get it. But yeah, if you guys want to watch his as well, so you can see what he's doing. But Monkey had some things he wants to do in some of his mods that I'm going to show him how to do, and then he is going to show us some cool stuff in Outfit Studio, which I think would benefit a lot of folks. This is one of those things where I just have yet to wrap my head fully around Outfit Studio, and would love to pick your brain about it and get some more info, and then hopefully once we have it kind of in a tutorial format and I've been able to ask somebody questions to get my questions answered and like my thoughts around it clarified, I should hopefully be able to do tutorials for Bethesda Mod School to get those out for it.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, that'll be nice because there's a few tutorials out there, but almost all of them have mostly to do with how do you make boobs look better, and like there's so much more you can do with Outfit Studio.
There is. Outfit Studio is actually it's a very powerful program for mesh manipulation, and then you consider it's free. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So let's start with the stuff you had to tackle. So I think one of the things I remember you wanted to do was a dynamic quest where you would have multiple locations, and one of them was the true location, and the others were kind of dummies.
Yeah, and I had that in my the Bleachers Diamond City story mod, where a couple of the missions I set it up so the player would have multiple map markers, and the item itself, however, would only be at one of the locations, and the rest of the map markers would have an invisible trigger box that would give you Mario's in another castle message.
Right.
That's easy enough to set up, but to randomize, I had no idea how to do that, and that's what I would like to do. Is how do you put the item at one location and the sorry, your princess isn't, the princess is in another castle box at the other locations. And how do you make that randomized?
Right. It's actually super easy, it turns out. So I'm going to try and find a vanilla quest that has this already configured so I don't have to load up one of my own things.
All right. Because I know how to randomize the location by itself. It's how to put the boxes at the other ones that's a real problem.
Right. So I would do this entirely with aliases, and that's why I'm trying to find a good one that we can just steal a copy of. The Brotherhood Steel one is a good one to copy because they do
BS 101.
Yeah, I think so. Whatever their Radiant quest, their stupid Radiant that they tricked me for hours to do over and over again before I realized I was doing Radiants. The one where you like,
long, huh?
Yeah, literally, like I kept getting all these devices and they sounded really cool. I'm like, we're gonna be building something awesome, and then it was garbage, just garbage. So let's see, item is idea. Let's see, I'll try it this way. But yeah, like I was like finding distress pulsars and beryllium agitators and all this weird stuff, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. Here we go, radiant capacitor. This is one for sure. QA miscellaneous component chest. All right, so guys, anybody watching what I'm doing here, if you're ever trying to figure out how something is used in the creation kit, if you right click on it and go to use info, you get a list of a bunch of different forms where Bethesda or whoever made the mod used the items, and it can make it a lot easier to track down how, like, where something is tied in together to the rest of the system. So this is a great way to try and reverse engineer things. So it looks like it's BOS R02 is what I'm looking for. But one of the things I found out with the aliases is by default, when you use certain types of alias, if you put multiple copies of that, by default, it will never fill it with the same thing. Like, it will always fill each of them with a unique, unless you specifically check a certain box. So we can basically take advantage of that. So BOS R02. Let's see, quest aliases. So I assume you've already done the dungeon thing, right? Like, you've got like a location alias set up. To pull some sort of dungeon.
Well, do you mean in a Radiant format, in a currently existing Radiant quest, or
in your, like, what do you have set up? What have you done so far, or do you have none of this set up and we need to start from scratch?
I have a general Radiant quest set up with a with the reference location alias.
Great. Okay, can you bring that up and we'll work from that?
All right, this one is a Radiant quest for raiders. Real simple one. You pick up a note, you read it. If you want the mission, you drop it. If you don't, when you read the mission, it puts a keyword on the raider boss. You go kill the boss. You can take the boss's head and you bring it back.
Okay, cool. So what you're trying to do is set up a random dungeon for like a pick. Well, it's not the one. This is just something else.
Well, this in a typical Radiant fashion, it'll randomly pick a boss raider for you that's out there somewhere within the parameters that you've entered in the quest alias.
Right.
And that's basically what this one does. That's how I did that.
Okay.
Reference location.
All right, so I'm bringing up your screen right now. I'm just going to full screen here so I can try to get an idea of what I'm looking at here. And really what I should have done is, because this is in your mod, I should have just downloaded your mod and had it loaded up. But
yeah. Remember, mod crashes your box, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't be able to put it in my playlist, but I could at least have it loaded in the CK.
I can send you the plugin if you want.
Yeah, that might be useful. Is it small enough I can go through Discord? That'll be quicker than download the whole thing. Because then because right now I'm just restreaming your screen, and that's going to look terrible for people. So I'm going to toss me the plugin. I'll load that up real quick.
All right.
But basically what we end up doing is you're going to... well, first of all, I guess I should further clarify what you want to have happen. So so you want, basically, instead of one dungeon to come up, you want 3 dungeons to come up, correct?
I want 3 map markers to come up.
3 map markers. Okay.
Yeah, or 4 or 5 map markers. They send you... Well, not even the raider, actually. Just an item. That's what it should be. I'm sorry. The Radiant quests were something... This is type of a way to personalize Radiant quests. It wouldn't necessarily have to be the enemy is in 4 different locations, but it could be. Is in 1 of 4 different locations, because, he's out there. He's a fugitive. You don't know where he is, so maybe you have to search for him.
Okay, so what I would do would be to just duplicate the duplicate those aliases, so that I guess I did have DC Guard overall already in my thing. Well, I'll just take your
there's the latest plugin.
Okay, cool. Let me load this up.
The one that's for Diamond City Story is a much smaller plugin. I just keep adding on top of the same plugin.
Okay. Here we go. DC Guard overall. Oh man, the number of the parent masters is going to take a while for the CK to load this. But basically, so what I would do would be set up 3 or 4, however many locations. Right? Yeah, I got armor keywords. Okay. So I would just duplicate that alias like 4 or 5 times. And then, so that'll give you the 4 or 5 different locations that you need. And each one will be unique. The only way it will duplicate ever is if you were to check in the allow reuse within quest. That's what that checkbox is for. So as long as you don't check that in, then each of those will be unique locations.
All right. So I'm bringing up the Mr. Dr. Pepper's quest then, because
Okay.
he sends you for a soda fountain, and I've got 5 wrong locations and 1 right location.
Okay.
And the wrong locations have been duplicated as individual aliases. So let me know when you bring that up in your creation kit window.
Okay. I figure it'll take approximately 12 minutes. So
It's not that bad.
we can just. Sometimes it feels like it is. Like when that's the downside of all the parent masters, because it's got to load all that stuff in. But basically, still the same thing's going to apply. Is I assume you have some sort of location alias that's being pulled based on criteria.
For a Radiant quest, yes, I would.
Okay. For Dr. Pepper's thing, do you?
For Dr. Pepper's, no, it's all predetermined. It's always at the same spot.
So you're going to predetermine 5 locations then?
No, that's the old way.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm making it clear.
No, I'm not sure what you're trying to do. So are you going to redo this quest, or are you editing this?
No, this is for
quest?
moving forward. Or I could even redo this quest. Why don't I do that?
Okay.
Mr. Dr. Pepper's quest.
So you want to turn it into a radiant,
Yeah.
basically. Okay. So then I think we'll go back to I'm going to use the BOS. It's at R02, I think I said. Yeah, BOS R02 as my base to work from. So there's a couple. So basically you'll set up a new quest, and you're going to have your alias set up with your location and whatever conditions you want on it. So for anybody who's never done this before, what you can set it up so that when you launch a quest, the game will dynamically find things for you. So it will do stuff like pick a dungeon. Like this is how often you'll get the settlers will tell you to go clear out raiders, and it's like just a random dungeon that you haven't cleared yet. And the way it does that is you set up a location alias. So I'm in a quest here, and if we were to just go to new location alias, you can then under this find matching location here, if you go on the bottom box down here, these are the conditions. You can set up all sorts of conditions, and it will try and find a location that matches those conditions. And if you look at some of the way Bethesda has done it, so like on this Brotherhood of Steel Radiant, they have the dungeon player level, and they have a bunch of conditions. So it's like is encounter above player level, and that's equals 0, which means it's false. So is the encounter of the player's level or below it. Can the location be reset? That's one of their conditions. And then there's all these keywords on the conditions, and a lot of this stuff is this, like if you're learning this stuff and trying to do it, is best to just copy what Bethesda does and just work from there. And then as you get more, once you've managed to recreate something they've done, then you can come back and start tweaking it and making little changes, because it would be hard to know to search for locations with keywords, but you quickly learn that they do all sorts of stuff with these keywords on their locations.
Yeah,
and basically,
it's their conditions. It's
yeah, those conditions.
Any condition keywords. Some things will be in the Commonwealth. You can have it go by things that are settlements, but only in Far Harbor, stuff like that. Too, and the location references, aliases.
Yeah, and these let's see, and it looks like it's doing for this has a location ref types to find bosses. I assume that's what you did for the Raider quest.
For the Raider, yeah.
Yeah. So that's usually a great way to go, is to use the same type of thing of looking for locations with bosses and boss containers, because those tend to be it's a pretty good chunk of the map is set up like that, like of the interior locations.
Yeah, one of the keywords is boss container too. You can actually tell it to put this item in a boss container.
Yeah, and that's actually what I would recommend you do for your dummies, is just set the quest markers on the boss containers.
All right.
As a way to do it. So then effectively all you have to do is set up your first location ref the same way you did before, duplicate it 4 or 5 times, and then create 5 reference aliases, and grab the boss container. So if we did a new reference alias, and then you just do in the fill type, choose location alias reference, and then for each one you would choose the next one of your location aliases. So you would do dungeon 1, choose its ref type boss container, then do another alias which is dungeon 2's boss container, excuse me, and just keep doing that so that you end up with 5 of those or however many you want for your quest. So then that gives you, now you have 5 potential things you can set up as markers in your objectives. Because once you have an alias set up, you can point a quest objective to it.
Not following. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So let's start real simple then. Let's start by set up your first location alias. You know how you've done that before. So we'll just go ahead and set up a location alias with to a boss dungeon. So something like I think you can do it as simple as like location has ref type, boss container, location has ref type. That's probably good enough. Just location has ref type, boss container, and then maybe do like is
okay. This is gonna have to. This is gonna have to be a quest from the ground up then.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do this.
All right.
Just to avoid ruining any of your quests. I was just bringing up BOS RO2 so that I had something to quickly reference all these conditions, so I didn't have to try and remember them all.
All right, I'm starting a new quest real quick.
Okay, cool.
Start game enabled.
So I'll do the same. I'll do the same thing just so if people are watching my screen, they can see kind of what we're doing. But I'm going to name this KG demo random dungeon. KG demo. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is set up a location alias. And I'm going to just call this Dungeon 01. So we're going to try and get 5 of these.
All right. And the location alias reference. Are we going to allow reuse as well?
So no, I would say you don't want to allow reuse in any of these. For the dungeons, since you're allowing some of them to be dummies, you might even allow cleared as one of the options, just to let it use dungeons that the player's already been to.
All right.
But maybe not. Maybe you don't want to do that. That's up to you. But that would determine whether or not it would allow reuse or would only go for fresh ones. And I would also check in optional on your location aliases, just in case there aren't enough for some reason. Because when you're trying to grab 5, there's a slim chance that the player's cleared everything out.
Yeah.
I'd probably unlikely, but who knows? People are crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna just for the sake of what I'm setting up here on stream, I'm just gonna set up just the location ref type has boss container. I'm setting it to optional, allow clear and allowed cleared, and hit OK on that. And then what did I just do wrong? Why did it not save? Oh, there it goes. It was just I had too many screens open. And then duplicate that a bunch of times. Okay, 4, 5. And then so for the new, and then so now I've got my location. So this is going to find 5 unique dungeon locations that have boss containers in them. And boss containers are, for everybody listening, are usually those containers you find after you kill a boss. Though some dungeons don't have a boss and they'll still have a container. It's usually like the container you're most likely to find a big pile of loot. It'll have like a big chest. It'll have a bunch of stuff in it. It doesn't necessarily have a legendary or anything, but. And then so the new reference alias, I think you were already ahead of me and you started setting that up. Basically just do one for each of the dungeons. So we'll do boss container 01 and then location alias reference, and we're going to select our first dungeon, and then the ref type is boss container. And then I'm going to do optional on this as well. You shouldn't need optional on these because there should always be a boss container, since we did one of our conditions on the location is that it does have a boss container ref type, but because we set the location themselves to optional, it means that those might not be there. So we need this as optional as well. Otherwise, if you don't set your alias as optional, the quest won't even start. So you definitely want to. It's in fact usually for testing, the best thing to do, I find, is just set them all to optional to make sure that you've got it working, so that you don't have any weird hiccups. Because you can test in game to see if an alias didn't fill, and then you can figure it out from there. But somebody showed Nika-Cola showed me a shortcut you can use to toggle the optional thing right from the aliases screen without having to open up the aliases, because opening up an alias takes forever. But yeah, if you just hit Control Shift O while selecting any number of aliases on that screen, it'll bring up a thing that says confirm toggle optional flag on the selected aliases.
Good Lord.
Super useful. So then I'm going to just duplicate I'm going to duplicate the boss container. Now I can't just duplicate it 5 times and be done because I actually have to reference the specific alias because I want one for each. So I'm going to just duplicate one at a time and then go in and change the drop down menu to point to the next dungeon in the list. So we're basically setting up this quest so it knows about 5 random dungeons and their boss containers if they're available. So let me know when you got yours set up. I'm almost done on my end.
I'm just opening up Dungeon 3's alias. My aliases take a bit longer.
Oh yeah, these take.
I got a faster solid state drive coming for Christmas though.
I just upgraded to that as my main hard drive on this computer because they were crazy cheap for Black Friday.
What form factor did you get?
The little tiny guys.
The M2s.
You're talking over my head now. I've given up on following PC hardware. I used to care about it. Now I just don't anymore. But like, I don't know. I got a 2 terabyte little tiny SSD drive for like $175, which is a steal.
That's a really good buy.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna while you're finishing setting yours up, I'm gonna check chat. I've kind of fallen behind. Sorry guys, if you guys have been asking any questions.
Oh yeah, there's a chat going on, isn't there? Oops. Sorry guys.
If I didn't plug it into a PCIe slot, it's not an M2. No, I did not plug it into a PCIe slot. It's just got little cables coming out of it, little SATA cables. Is how fast is M2 when you're going right into PCIe slot? That's got to be crazy fast, huh?
It is really fast. It's like they set up to 7 times faster than SATA.
Whoa. Because I am super happy with just the speed I'm getting off SSDs compared to the plate drives. So if I can increase that speed again, man, I'll have to think about that for next computer. In like 2025 when I have.
You gotta be kidding me.
What happened?
It's like I hit OK and there's nothing in the. I have to start all over again.
Oh no! Sometimes sometimes you need to close your other quests, and then all your stuff will show up. Okay, you're gonna set that back up again. Well, I was just checking chat to see if I had any questions, and all there was somebody concerned that they got shadow banned by YouTube, but it looks like everything's all clear. So if anybody has any questions about what we've been going over so far, or anything you guys think I know, I'm happy to talk while Monkey gets caught up on setting up his quest.
Should they?
No,
that's good. Let me delete that condition. Son of a bitch, that pisses me off.
What I would do before you set up your aliases is hit OK once on the quest and make sure that the form saves, because that might have been the problem. I have that problem a lot with when I try and set up a new quest and the scripts all in one go. The scripts usually don't save. Okay. The trade-off, the M2s don't have nearly as much capacity. That makes sense. That's my biggest concern with SSDs right now. Like I think anything less than 2 terabytes is like useless.
Oh,
I fill it up so fast.
Damn. Size snub.
I use so much hard drive space. Because I refuse to delete things.
I'm getting a 1 terabyte M2, but they're really freaking fast. I'm looking forward to it. And then got a second video card coming too. My wife spoiled me this year around.
Oh, nice. Let's see. How do you create an invisible object? A mess without a texture won't work right. That'll show up as purple. So what you need to do for that is set up an alpha on the model. Let me see if I have one handy. I can just show you. Let's see here. In fact, I can. I don't know how. I can't. Does YouTube let you, or Twitch let you like share files like Discord does? Discord spoils me. It's made me so lazy about all the things you can do with it. Just drag and drop stuff in the window.
That drag and drop is priceless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so fantastic. Where are all my? Just go into this and settlements and
All right, I'm filling in the boss containers again.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna open up helper here. I am gonna find exactly what you're looking for. Murray's Fallout silent camera. Just gotta get this extracted. Select folder. Okay, we're gonna get a. I'm gonna show you how to do an alpha mesh. It's pretty easy. You just need. I don't know if I have them. I might have to go back in and extract the material as well. But let's see. Let's bring up NIF scope here. And so here, this is my invisible thing that, and I actually have this set up with an editor marker so that I can see it in the editor, but not in the game. But all you need is you need a. So you can either copy and paste this from an existing mesh, or you can create these manually. But you need on your BS try shape, you need an alpha property set up with the flags 4109. That seems to work well for me. I'm sure there's other sets of flags that will work, but I use 4109. And then you want a BS effect shader property on there. And let me see. I'm trying to remember how I have this one set up. The easiest way I can think to do it would be to just take these two off of an invisible NIF that you are aware of, or like for example, if you want to just get one from Sim Settlements, like I have a bunch of these set up. They have marker in the name, so there's one under. If you open up my BA2 file from Sim Settlements, it's under auto build plots helpers, and there's one called Tiny Helper Marker, and you can literally have two NIF scopes open, and you can copy and paste nodes between them. So you could literally like take this BS effect shader property, copy it, go into your model and just paste it right on there with Control V, and do the same with the alpha property. And then you would end up. So if let me show you what that looks like, because it's be a little wonky, but it's easy to fix. Oh, let me bring up something here. Dog treat. This sure. Bring up this thing. So when you're copy paste things before, so if I go here, I'm in my NIF that I know has the stuff I need. I'm going to copy with Control C my BS effect shader property. I'm going to come into this try shape and paste it in. And then what ends up happening is the other thing that was there before, the BS lighting shader property, gets moved down to the bottom of the NIF, and you need to just delete that. So we just hit block, remove branch, and then we'll do the same thing with the alpha property. I'm hitting Control C to copy that, come in here and paste that on this BS try shape, and there we go. And now this NIF here will be invisible in the. So that is it. It's the easiest way, like I said, to do it is to just copy and paste this information from NIF from model files you already know that are invisible in the game. Is it pretty straightforward to add a load door to a plot? There's actually a section in the Builder's Toolkit for exactly how to do that, Chris. So if you check out the Builder's Toolkit, it'll show you how to do that. There's a section because enough people have asked me how to do that. How are we going on those containers? You got them all set, Monkey?
The aliases are all set up to. I'm up to speed to where you were. I got the 5 boss containers and.
All right. So then the next one. This is the easiest step. So now what you can assume here is all of these dungeons are random because they're going to get picked at runtime when this quest starts. So all we have to do is set up a new reference alias to create our quest object and just put it in like container 5, for example. Well, it's going to be random by the nature of the fact that dungeons 1 through 5 are always random. So now you can set up your 5 quest objectives to just point to boss containers 1 through 5, and it will be random because the player will never know. They don't see which one is number 5. It'll just be 5 random locations. You follow me?
No.
Okay. So create a new reference alias, and we're going to call this quest up. And
yeah, maybe if we fill it out, I'll be able to follow it easier.
Yeah. So we're going to do quest object as our alias name, and we're going to check in the quest object so it gets flagged so that the player can't just scrap it. And then what you do is you hit there's the best way I find to do this is just do create ref to object as your fill type.
Oh yeah, that is and then actually
uncheck temp and pick your whatever object you want to give them. So we'll say it's going to be a 10mm pistol. And you're going to create it in. So to the right of that, next to level, hit check in the in drop down, and then pick the boss container you want. So we'll do like boss container 01. Okay. Now there is a problem with this method is that because we flagged our things as optional, there's a potential that this thing is empty. So there's a way we can get.
Ding! Never mind. I see how this works.
Okay, cool.
I see exactly how this works. This whole thing, the whole system you're setting up here.
Yeah. So we're actually going to do one additional step to make this more bulletproof. Right. So I'm going to create a copy of boss container 05, and I'm going to go in and rename this. And we're going to name this quest container.
Quest container.
This is a trick I've seen Bethesda use a lot, and I really like. So what we do with this one is we leave this as specific reference as the type. and we'll still check optional on this. What you'll end up having, there's like a 1 in a million chance that all of these aliases fail to fill and this whole thing gets screwed up. Should be pretty unlikely though. So I think we can uncheck optional safely and know that this is our fail safe check, that we know if this quest fails to start, it means that there's some weird situation where the player has no boss dungeons left. So I'm gonna assume this one will be safe to leave not optional.
Okay, so quest container is going to be not optional. I mean,
it's just
object.
quest container is just gonna be specific references to the fill type, all boxes unchecked. We don't want anything checked in here.
I mean, reserves reference. I'm sorry, the screen on that's coming through from your stream is still on the rocket.
Okay.
Like 3 minutes ago. I'm not seeing your screen. I'm not seeing your screen in real time.
Gotcha. Don't even worry about my screen. So on yours, so when you make the alias named quest container, the fill type, make it specific reference. So it's just the first dot.
Oh, specific. Duh. I was looking at the flags.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then uncheck all those flags. We don't want anything checked in.
Okay.
So just the most basic blank reference alias you can have.
All right.
Okay. So now we're going to go back into so we hit OK on that. And we're going to go back to boss container 01. And I'll show you how to do this on 1, and you're going to repeat it on. Excuse me. Okay. So come on up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go, we're going to allow reuse in quest. We're going to check that in on this. And the allow reuse means that it's okay for this item to exist in multiple aliases. If you don't check this in, then it will fail to fill in a second alias.
All right.
So we're going to check in allow reuse, and then we're going to force into alias on fill. There's a little drop down, and we're going to force it into the quest container. And what we're doing is we're saying once boss container is found. So when the way quests work, everybody else, you know this, Monkey, but everybody else, when all these aliases, the game's going to try and search the game world to fill these aliases with an item that meets all the conditions. And so what we're doing here with this force into alias on fill, we're saying, so as soon as you fill this, as soon as you find our first boss container, also take that same item you found and force it into a different alias as well. And you'll understand why we're doing this in a second.
So just to review, boss container 1 is going to be forced into alias on fill quest container?
Yes. Okay. And you're going to do that for all 5. So all 5 of them now are going to force into alias quest container, and they're all allow reuse in quest.
All right.
So you go ahead and do that, and I'll talk through to everybody why we're doing this. So the idea here is, since these are optional, it means that there might be nothing in them. So if we went to, so say boss container 01, the game couldn't find anything and it was empty. It wouldn't then be able to, it wouldn't force anything into the alias. So then quest container would be left alone. But if it does find something, it will set quest container to that. So now let's say boss container 01 had nothing, boss container 02 had nothing. And so then quest container is still empty. Then it gets to the boss container 03. It puts that into quest container. Now quest container has some reference, and it's going to be a container where we can drop an object in. And then let's say then it goes on to, we go to boss container 4, and it does have something as well. And now that goes into quest container, and that will overwrite what boss container 3 sent it, and that's okay. But basically what we're doing by doing this is we're guaranteeing as long as one of these 5 boss containers has something in it, then quest container will also have something in it. So now when we get finished with all this and we go to our quest object where we're creating our quest object, we can tell it to be created in quest container, and that quest container is almost guaranteed to have some container in that alias so that that item can actually be created and the quest can continue. So the issue when we're using optional references is that if the optional reference doesn't fill, you're screwed and your quest won't start and the player can't do anything because those aliases have to have some sort of reference in the game world for the quest to do its thing. So once our boss containers are all set up, I've got all of them are basically finding a container and they're going to each dump it into quest container. And the way it works is the last one that does it is the one that's used. So if all 5 of them had a container, we're going to end up using boss container 05, and that's fine. We don't really care which of these we're using because we're just trying to get one at random. So then the last step we do is we open up our quest object again. And instead of having it create in boss container 05, which is I think what I set it up as, we're going to set it to create inside of the quest container. So now 1 out of 5 chance or at least we have 5 different chances to find a container. And no matter what, since we're forcing them into the quest container, it's kind of like setting up a variable. we set up quest container to be like, just be equal to any of these containers you can find. And now quest object is in there. Excuse me. So now you can set up your quest objectives to point to quest container, or you can just set it up to just point to all 5 of these boss containers. And that way one of them will not be the dummy.
All right, I think I'm still on the same page as you all on this one. So any reason the boss containers wouldn't fill, as long as, I mean,
so it could be,
I suppose if you use the cleared flag or something like that, it could fill.
Right, or if for like I said, if you didn't choose the allowed cleared, and the player had just gone,
Cleared
you know,
them
maybe
all.
they cleared them all, which is pretty unlikely. I think you would have to do that in the respawn timer is probably impossible. So, but I just like to make
somebody on
stuff
Nexus
because
Mods
somebody will
away and
right, somebody will have some
it.
combo of mods, and then they'll complain to you, and you'll spend forever troubleshooting. So this is just,
I fell out a bug report
sometimes
threaten me
right,
my life.
Hope your kids get cancer. Like what? So this is the this method, though, you'll find it ends up being pretty useful for a lot of other stuff. I use this all the time now, of the fallback of just like force everything into one alias.
I like that. That's pretty slick. I thought that might be.
Right.
I thought it might require a script or something, but that's all.
Yeah, originally when I was thinking of this, because you posed this question to me earlier in the week about how to do this, and I was thinking about like, maybe we could do this. Maybe we need a script for this, and then as I started laying it out in my head, I'm like, no, we can just use this system. It'll work fine. So yeah, so this is and this is how there's a lot of stuff Bethesda does this with, like for
So can I ask, how do you put the princess isn't here? I mean, princess in another castle, and the ones that don't get filled.
Well, I mean, you could do something like a script on each of these aliases that's like on activate, like a response to the on activate event, and then you just post a message up. Like, how do you want it to manifest? What do you want the?
It could be a message. It could be another item that says "sucker."
Yeah. So
maybe a message would be nice, you know, on container open or something like that. Says you don't find the item you're looking for. Try one of the other map markers.
Right, you could do it that way. You could do a pop-up message, or if you wanted to do a dummy object that's in each of those.
I'm not sure about that. That'd be introducing a lot of dummy objects into the game space potentially. It would just be notes or something. Maybe read it and then it self-destructs.
Yeah, you could set up a note to self-destruct. I'm trying to think of how you would do that where it wouldn't end up in the container with the actual object, because that would be awkward.
It's not here, but it is here.
Yeah, right.
I'm holding it in my other hand.
Because you could easily just set up like a copy of this quest object thing that was just creating the dummy note in each of the containers, but you wouldn't want to do it in quest container.
Yeah. Well, what about a script? How would it sift through those aliases and figure out which one?
Yeah, so with a script, it would be pretty easy. So with a script, this is probably the way I would approach it, because once I get to a point where I can't think of a solution easily, I fall back to scripts. Scripts are really the lazy way to do things, but it's also the quick way to do things. So basically, what we would set up is, I'm gonna just notepad this. Let me like ramp up the. Let's see. Let me get the font size really big here. Zoom in, Control Plus. God, I haven't used Notepad. I should just bring open Notepad plus, but here we go. Giant. Okay, so what we would do is set up. I'm gonna shorthand this script, so this isn't gonna work perfectly, but I'm gonna just show you like what the properties would look like. So, so we would set up a reference alias array, which is like what these little brackets are, and basically that means this property is gonna have multiple of this thing in it.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna do boss containers. Auto const, and then we will do reference alias not an array, so without the brackets, property quest container, auto const, and then we will do property dummy note. All
Okay,
right.
so
So then,
this isn't live, so I'm trying to just keep up in my head because it's got quite a lag. I'm trying to upload mine and download yours. So you made an array of the boss containers. You made a property of the quest container, and you made a property of the dummy note.
yeah. So,
Okay.
you know what? I'll just go ahead and while you're waiting to catch up, I'll just make this a full script. So if anybody's watching this and trying to copy it, that they can actually make use of this.
All right.
So script name, I got to define it. See, script name, we'll call it.
So, on my screen, you haven't even opened Notepad yet. I'm not
Wow, that's
kidding.
way behind. Way behind. All right. Let's
I think
see.
you're in another time zone or something.
Dummy note placer extends quest. Okay, so now this will actually be a fully functional script. All right, so then we're going to set up an onQuest init event, and then we're going to loop through our boss container. So we're going to do int I equals 0, while I is less than boss containers dot length. And then this is a good habit to get into if you're coding in Papyrus, even if you're an experienced programmer, is if you leave a while loop without putting an incrementer in it. Oops, and I can't do plus plus. I forgot slang plus equals 1. If you forget to put an incrementer in for you coders out there, you will hose your save file. So like I always, before I even continue writing a while loop, I always make sure I have the method for breaking out of the loop. So you set up some sort of condition here and make sure that there's a way to break free. And if you don't think your loop's going to have a way to break free, I would definitely set up some sort of like max loop counter to make sure that you don't, because the save is toast.
Speaking of things that might be important, I just
Okay.
had a thought about the aliases in the quests that you're doing. Alias order is important. So you have the boss containers, you're trying to force it into the quest container, but you haven't declared the quest container yet. So I think the quest container has to come before the boss containers in the list.
No, actually, in this case, it does not.
Okay.
That's only the case if the thing below, like, if they need to reference the thing in the alias.
It's like an object reference or something in the world space.
Right. So in this case, boss container 01, 2, 3, 4, 5, they only need to know about the alias itself. They're not trying to get any information about the reference that would be in quest. This is such confusing stuff to talk about, the aliases.
It actually doesn't. It doesn't have been filled because it doesn't need to be filled.
It does need to be filled, right? So but you were correct. Like we couldn't put the dungeons after the boss containers because then the boss containers wouldn't have a dungeon ref type filled, because these do get filled in order, and that's really relevant. But in this case, the boss containers are not actually talking about the object reference that would be in quest container. They just need to know about the I guess a way to talk about this. God, I've never had to explain aliases and references.
A lot of them being made on the spot. I don't know how that's hard to describe too. Never mind.
Alias, if you know anybody, any bit of coding, it's easy to explain. You would just think of aliases as variables, and the thing that goes in the alias is the value of that variable. So if you don't know coding, then I probably just made it worse. So it can go after in that case. All right, so then I'm going to go back to my script, since I'm not sure if you're caught up or not, but we're looping through our aliases. And so to get access to an array entry in a property, you just access it with the brackets at the end of the name of the property, and then the index you want. So we'll do I.getRef. So that's going to get the actual excuse me. So we're getting the actual reference. So this is the actual variable. That's our alias, and then the ref is what is inside of that alias. So we're going to get ref. And what we were going to do is just say, and actually I'm going to do something, I'm going to add a little bit above here. So we're going to first do, so we can save some time. This is just an efficiency thing. We could do it a different way. But what we're trying to do here is check if these boss containers are the same as the quest container. And if they are, we'll skip them. Otherwise, we'll drop a dummy node in. So we'll say object reference, K quest container ref equals quest container dot get ref. So then we can do in here, if boss container I dot get ref equals, because you can compare anything to anything else. So we're just saying, like, if these are the exact same thing, we'll do nothing. And this is the other way we could do this. If you're a coder, you would say is if it's not equal to, then we'll add the note. But so we'll do nothing. Otherwise, we're going to add the note. So then we'll do boss container dot get ref dot add item. dummy note. And there we go. This script should compile just as is. You should be able to use it exactly like this to do what you need. So once you catch up, Monkey, you can just copy exactly what I have on screen, and it should work. Theoretically, I do.
Yeah, this is starting on Questinit.
Okay.
And the aliases get filled before the script gets fired on Questinit, so it won't be looking.
Yeah, it should. The Questinit should happen immediately after all the aliases.
All right.
And I'm gonna go double check that.
I just fast forward. It's coming up to where you are almost.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna hop into the creation kit site real quick and double check the on Questinit with the aliases. I'm 90% certain it's filled, but there's a chance that because there are a couple of things that run concurrently with the alias filling where like it won't all filled, so that it might be you might be right. We might need, and that's fine. Let's see here. This event runs in parallel with the startup quest stage fragment and on alias init. Yeah, you are correct. So we can't use on quest init because it might be that the aliases aren't filled yet. So we're going to need to do this a little bit differently. So let me pop open a quest script and we'll look at.
We do maybe on a stage set or something.
Yeah, this is something I've set up before. So where in my template for controller quests, I actually went over this, so I should have remembered that. But okay, so we'll do it that way. So we're gonna go. We're gonna use on stage set, and we'll show you how to set that up as well. So we're going to change to this event. So we need to copy and paste this off the creation kit site. And we're going to do if AUI stage ID equals 2. We're going to set up 2 stages. Oops, I can't. I forgot. I cannot just do a big block tab in Notepad. Okay, so... All right, so yeah, we'll do it on stage set, and then we're just going to set up some stages in our quest. So... I'm going to hit OK and save because the CK likes to crash around this time. So I've just edited a new KG demo quest to GC guard overhaul. That's okay. All right, so we're going to set up 2 stages here. We're going to set up 1 stage. We're going to leave it as index 1. And we'll put in a new log entry, and we're going to set this to run on start. And we're going to just put designer notes quest started, just so I remember what this is for. Excuse me. And then we're going to set up stage 2. And
can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
With regards to stage 1 and stage 0 and starting up and everything, does it matter what their number? Because I put a lot of stage 0s for my first stages in my quest, and so far
yeah, it's totally fine. Totally arbitrary.
Right. I was just wondering.
You can use whatever you want for those numbers. This is just a habit I've gotten into is doing 1 and 2. In fact, trying to think of how I usually set this up in my controller quest. Let me go. I'm gonna just bring up a script I've done for source. I might just have to download my own toolkit because I have a controller quest with all of this solved, so that I'm not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah, you can endorse your own stuff.
Let's see here, because I have no idea where the files are on this computer. Let's go. Oh God, please no porn on the Nexus homepage.
It's a pretty tall order. Yeah, there you go.
Right. I got lucky. It wasn't a need today. All right, let's download mod school resources. Let's see, scripts, KG templates, controller quest. I think this is. Oh my God, I have so much stuff open. All right, we're gonna do this in. I knew that was gonna be a problem. I have so. I keep like anyone who looks at my Notepad++ would be appalled by the number of scripts or number of files I have open here.
Yeah, I have Adam. I have no idea how many I have open right now. A lot though.
Oops! I hit my shortcut to turn off my display. Sorry guys. What happened there? I can never remember what I have a hotkey set up to transition to the back and forth between my screen and that Fallout thing. I don't remember what the hotkey is though, so I only hit it by accident. Okay, so how do I have this set up here? So it looks like the way I have it set up is okay. So I use there's a function that Quest can run called isRunning, and that will only return true after the alias is filled. So the way I have this set up is I do see this is why I created this controller quest, because this is such like all this garbage you have to do to actually be certain that the quest is started.
It was
Got
like
to
you're
be so
checking every 2
obnoxious.
seconds to make sure it's started before you.
Exactly. So basically, I
Okay.
just do every 2 seconds. I run a timer, check if it's running. And any of you guys who wants this quest, this is this script right here that you can use to start up any quest that you're working on or anything you're trying to run. This is available in the Bethesda Mod School resources, and it's explained in depth in some videos on my channel. So definitely check that out if you're interested in this type of stuff. But this is where I would start with this. Monkey was just grab this controller quest and use this as your basis, and then from here, so we could take the code that I have here, and we can just copy and paste this into our controller. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna go file, save, and copy as, and then we'll put this. Let's see, desktop data. Whoops, not EMD. Data scripts. Where are you? Source user. So much junk. KG testing. Perfect. We'll just stash it in here. I don't know what this is for. Okay, so we're gonna call this. What did we call it in this other file here? Dummy note placer. That's right. Dummy note placer.psc, and then we will open that up again. Scripts source user. God, I gotta keep diving here. There we go. All right, so then we're gonna add our properties here. So I'm gonna set up a new group. Just keep this nice and organized. Aliases. Okay, there's our aliases, and where is dummy note? And we'll call this group assets. You guys don't have to do when you're coding. You don't have to do these groups. I just keeps them organized in the creation kit when you're setting up properties. So it's just a habit I have. Totally optional though.
It's a good habit. I don't have it. I can never figure out what the hell I'm looking at 6 months down the line.
All right, let's see here. What do I have set up for stages? I stage startup complete. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna come down here. Else if AUI stage ID day complete, and then we run this little nonsense that we wrote in that other screen. Okay, so now that's done. So I basically just took all the scripts I wrote in the notepad and I just plugged them into the appropriate places on this controller script, which seemed pretty easy. I'm sure any of you guys who know, somebody just said you should try VS Code. I am a bad programmer in the sense that I just have never found an IDE that I like, and so I just keep finding myself going back to Notepad++, and code hinting drives me insane, having stuff pop up on my screen, and so does code completion. So I don't even use those. I'm sure it makes me like a really bad coder as far as speed and efficiency, but it's just like I just have never, and I mean I've been coding for freaking. And I just have, so I'm sure a lot of this has just become me enforcing bad habits by just doing it a certain way over and over. And now I'm becoming like an old man who won't change, even though there's probably a great IDE out there for me, but it is what it is. So I'm a Notepad++ like stream. Like I feel like I'm practically working in Notepad most of the time, and I love it. So I think Monkey, you know what to do here now. Or do you need me to, do you want me to just send you the script? Oh, did I lose him? Did I lose any of you guys? Can you guys still hear me on YouTube or Twitch? Can anybody confirm? Because I can't hear Monkey anymore. My connection dropped.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
There he is. That's all right.
Can you, do you mind dropping that in Discord for me? That script?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, for sure.
Shouldn't take long. Be able to keep up faster that way.
Yeah. All right.
I see what you're doing there, though.
Okay,
That's
cool.
pretty clever.
Yeah, as long as you're following it, then we're good. Okay, cool. I got a lot of confirmations they can hear me. So it was just my imagination that. But yeah, so we're basically gonna take this script now, compile it. I'm not gonna be able to in my demo because my script directory is a disaster on this computer. This is the one I play on, so it's just like so many loose files from. God, loose files drive me insane. Do you do loose files, Monkey? Are you the devil too?
When I When I make the mods, yeah, for my own mods, yeah, all the files are loose, obviously, and I try to avoid it.
When you release, are they
No,
loose?
no, not generally speaking. I don't like it. It clogs people's directories.
Yeah. Okay,
If
you're not
if
Satan
I'm getting a lot of
then.
crash to desktops, that's one of my first options though, is to try to go to loose files for textures.
Oh yeah,
And
I always use loose files when I'm developing. It's like I have two computers. I have my
I don't
development
like
computer.
loose files in mods at all. I've got
Oh,
a
it drives me
really
insane.
clogged data directory, and
Yeah,
it's getting bad. It's very laggy.
mine's a disaster. And this is like I stream from my gaming PC, and it's just I've got like 250 some mods, and I swear half of them are loose files. It drives me nuts. I need to set up a. I really need to learn mod organizer because from what I understand, I can set that up to like hot swap the actual directories so that I could like have a clean data directory for when I do these streams.
Yeah, I did that for this one actually. I have a vanilla install with just one save game fresh out of the vault.
Yeah, I needed to set that up one day. All right, so Monkey's just gonna basically take this script, put it into the CK, compile it, and then set up the properties. And then basically what we end up doing is when we're setting up these properties. Now, one of the things is that this thing has, I think, some extra stuff on it that you end up needing to set up, like a version global. Although it should still run even if you don't bother setting that up. I don't think there's anything in here that would cause it to crash. So you can skip that step if you wanted. But I think and then the player ref. I don't think we ever use it in here. It's just one of those things that if you want to set up the loop that runs at the beginning of the startup, which is because this was designed to be controller quest, kind of something. This was designed to be a controller quest, like something that you would leave running forever in the background, not a Radiant quest. So this isn't the best fit.
Here, why don't I send you a screenshot? Because you can't compile. I'll send you a screenshot of the properties window so you can explain it to the people at home in Discord.
Beautiful.
There you go. Cool. And what they all are. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. No, that'll help. Okay, so I'm bringing up this. Hopefully you guys can see this. I know text gets real wonky on stream. But basically what we're going to do, the ones that are in red, that just means that we have them flagged as mandatory. In this case, those can be skipped because we're not really worried about and those were set up, the player ref and ESP version. Those were set up as part of that controller script, again, because it was designed to be used for a quest that's just meant to like maintain things. So SimSettlements uses dozens of those to handle all of its systems. In this case, we don't actually care about what that's doing. That's doing things like version control and making sure that the quest can do things each time the game starts. For this quest, we don't care about that stuff. So all we're going to have to do is fill out our boss containers. And when we double click on this, and actually, you know what? Even though I can't set it up like that, I can just like add a dummy script here. So let's just do that. We'll just do new script.
Remember that's an image?
Yeah, I got your image,
okay.
But I'm gonna just do this. I don't know why I didn't think to do this. I'll just do this right in the CK.
All right.
I can actually follow through. So let's grab this whole script content, and then we'll this. Oops. Edit source. Here we go. We'll just paste this in here.
So just fill in the boss containers in the array there?
Yep.
Okay.
Dummy node placer extends quest. Save this. Let's see if it. Yep, compiled completely. All right, I'm getting good at this.
I can't get the simplest scripts to compile right away the first time. I'm shocked when they do.
All right, so then we're going to set up these properties. So we're going to double click boss containers. This one's an array type, which means we can keep adding more values. So we'll add the first one. We'll just select boss container 01, and then we'll duplicate this, select 02, and just do this down the line and grab all 5 of them. 3, 4, 5. There we go. So we got those set up, and then our quest container. Same basic thing. We just select the quest container there. And then our dummy note, we need to set that up. So I'm going to come back into here. We'll go to items. Those are called books in the creation kit. And rather than hitting new, and I think I just did hit new. I'm going to duplicate one. Let's see. Bethesda usually puts some stuff in here called default to act as templates to make it quicker. Of course, they do not for notes. So let's try BOS. Let's see here.
Doesn't really matter which node it is.
Right. It's just for the sake of filling this out. But we could basically just let's see. Okay, this doesn't have any scripts. Perfect. So KG demo, demi note, name, sucker. You wasted your time chasing this. Okay. And then we set up our dummy note, and now a copy of this will get created inside each of the containers that's not the actual quest container. So, and one of the things I did in my script that might seem odd to some of you, if you've done much script, is I used for the property for the dummy note, I used form as the type. And basically that just lets you fill it in with whatever you want. So if you want it to be a leveled list, you can be a leveled list. If you want it to be a note, you can be a note. That just makes it more versatile, but it also means you have to trust the person filling it out, because if they fill it out with a type that's invalid for what you're trying to do with it, it'll probably cause the game to crash. So another way you can do it is you can use anything you find in this form type drop-down list here. Any of these, you could use that as the type instead. So since we know it was going to be a note, it would probably have made more sense for the property type here to be book. And then what that would do is, instead of having to choose this form type list, field would just be gone. And instead you would just have a drop down list with only the things of that type. So I just love using forms because it's versatile. And then if I change my mind later, I don't have to go recompile the script. So that's it. So now this is set up. So now those dummy notes will show up only in the containers that the quest item is not in. The only other thing we might want to do is, as far as handling these, would be after they find the right one, you might want to back through. So like after we get to quest stage, so say we have some sort of quest stage, it's like stage quest complete, maybe it's stage 100 or something, is to loop through those boss containers and remove those dummy notes so that they're not just left the next time.
Maybe like when the quest object on container change 2 will trigger, the rest of them get killed or something like that.
Yeah, then maybe just go through and you just do the same while loop, and just instead of add item do, and that way you can prevent those from getting piled up. That might be a good way to do that. All right, so I think you can take it from here, right? Like, the rest of this.
Yeah.
How does your quest get triggered? Who's setting up, and then you can set up the objectives, obviously. So we can do something like go into quest objective. We'll say objective 1, and then for our target ref is boss container 01. And you just keep doing it, and just duplicate this. So
yeah, so you can make the active part of the quest contain all those quests.
Right, so it could just be like track down the thing. And then we can set all of our aliases on the same objective. Put them all in there,
yeah.
Right, and so then all 5 of those will be lit up with the markers. And since quest container is included with those boss containers 1 through 5, because it's
one of them will be the quest container, so you don't have to put quest container as the actual.
Exactly.
One of the objectives. Cool.
So there you go. So now you've got. There's still anybody watching this. There's setup you would have to do to set up this this quest correctly. This is like the bulk of the functionality Monkey was looking for, but you would need to set up something like, how does this quest start? So you would need, maybe it's dialogue or finding a note. You would have to tell it to start the quest, and then you would have to monitor for when the object actually gets looted. But there's actually really cool. I shouldn't say really cool. There are a fair number of useful default scripts that Bethesda set up to make this stuff a little bit easier.
It makes it a lot easier, honestly, for people like me. Yeah. When you're just doing basic quests.
Right, so like stuff like this where you're expecting the player to loot something. Usually, if you go to add a script to something and type in default, you'll find a bunch of scripts that Bethesda's already set. So there's probably something like on container change or
for the note, I would say on container change too. And then whenever that note is put into another container, including the player, so i.e. when the player picks it up, you're scanning through right now. It's really easy just to fill in the fields. On container change 2, well then set the quest to this stage.
Right. So here we go. So we got default alias on container change 2. So now we're monitoring when this item, because it's an alias, changes container, it's going to trigger a stage. So we can set up here player pickup only. We want that to be true. And then let's see, stage to set. And then just say we set it to stage 10 or something. Now that's all we'd have to do. We don't have to do any scripting. As soon as the player loots
You should
this,
probably open that window a little bit on the left. They can see the numbers too in the fields. Just a suggestion. That
I'm
column
not sure.
on the left.
Okay. Oh, okay. I got you.
And the properties
Yeah,
window.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see all the stuff here. You can see what everything's set to.
Yeah.
By default here. Yeah. That's so yeah. Basically, like there's a lot of stuff like this Bethesda has set up where it's especially for stage changing. This is especially where, and I think it's because Bethesda definitely just sends people off on missions to make quests without any scripting knowledge. So they try to give them, ways to advance their quests without actually having a script. So a lot of stuff, if you guys are making, if you're making quests, you can do that without actually having any scripting knowledge. You can just use a lot of these default ones. So, and you'll find most of them follow the same pattern where it'll be something like one of the properties is telling it what stage to set. And you have other things like these are pretty common, like the prereq stage. So it's like the quest has to have hit this stage before this can trigger. So that way you can disable things. There's a lot of that. So right now we've got this set up automatically here. This is going to go to stage 10 as soon as this is found. And then we could do something with, we could set up an objective that gets changed when this thing hits stage 10 by setting up stage 10 here. So we go to index, type in stage 10, player found the thing.
There's a lot of different default quests they include, like on NPC death. It's how to tie world events into stage setting and interacting with the quest. So I use those default alias scripts a lot. They're very handy. There's all sorts of trigger box enters doors, container opens, all sorts of stuff you can just tie new stages to.
It's definitely a case of anybody who's trying to get into design, even just doing basic stuff, is just think about really simple quests you've done in the game where, you just picked something up or just killed a guy and go find the quest in the game. And the best way to do that is usually through like the Fallout wiki sites. If you search for the name, let me try that. Let me think of a name of a quest. Just open one up here and show people how they can reverse engineer quests.
DN054 is the Atom Cat main quest. I spent a lot of time looking at that one.
What is it? DN054?
DN054.
Okay, what's the name of that quest is what I was looking for. The in-game name. Adam's Cat
Let me see if there's any scripts on that one. There's only one script on that one. Never mind.
Okay. But anyway, if you go to the Fallout wiki here on fandom, fallout.fandom.com, if you search up a quest name, then you can find you can usually find the actual in-game or in-editor name for the quest so that you can actually find it and decompile it. So if we found this Atom Cats quest, and on the fandom site, there's an editor ID section in this little box on the right, and that's what you would search in the creation kit to actually find that thing so that you can deconstruct it and figure out how they did it. So, anyway, this is something that's I use this all the time. The Fallout.fandom.com, Fallout.fandom.com.
Yeah,
/wiki. The fact that they take the in-game names and convert them into the editor ID so that you can actually look them up that way. Because if you were to just search for the name of the quest in this filter screen, you're not going to get anything. It's not going to. So this is a great way to get that information if you want to try and reverse engineering stuff. Okay, cool. So what was next on your list? So I think you have there's still more stuff you've got to do for that, and I think other people if there's a lot of great tutorials out there. If you guys want to get more information on that, I would highly recommend going through Sedden4494's tutorials for quest stuff.
I love that guy.
He's fantastic. He covers all the basics of the different types of things you'd want to do, and he's much better than I am at keeping it succinct. Like he will actually give you all the information you need in 10 minutes instead of rambling for 20 before telling you anything. So great resource, that guy.
So the next thing on the list, if you open search in the object window for BB Radiant.
BB Radiant.
Yeah, it'll be one of the quests that pops up.
Okay, I got BB Radiant Raider and BB Radiant Controller.
BB Radiant Raider.
Okay.
And look at the aliases.
All right.
And see, one's Raider Boss, and then there's Raider Location.
Yeah.
And Raider Bounty Note. So if you look at the objectives, first thing I'm having is... Oh, I didn't leave a space in Raider Boss. All right. I just debugged one myself by looking at it. All right. So why don't we tell people about the quest aliases? Say you look at the Raider Boss alias, and we don't know what that Raider Boss name is going to be, but you want to use that in the quest. You know how to
Oh
do
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, that stuff's awesome.
Yeah. So what you want to do is that alias is going to be used somewhere else. You want to use that raider boss's name somewhere else in the quest, like on the note or in the quest objective. So when you, good lord, there it goes. So when you make that alias, you want to do a stores text. Do that flag. Are they up on my? Is the stream on my window or yours now, Gath?
I'm still on mine. I'm just following
Okay.
along with what you're saying.
All right.
So
You want to use the source text on like a raider boss alias or something, because yeah, it's going to be filled by an NPC with a name, and you're going to want to use that NPC down the line. So you do the stores text flag on that alias. And then when you go to quest objectives or a note or something that is part of that quest, you can then type in the brackets alias equals raider boss or whatever the alias name equals, and it will replace that with the location or the boss's name or something. Did that make any sense?
yeah, so I'm bringing up the note right here, so you can see if you guys
Okay.
see in his note. This is really hard to see with how small this text is. So let me bring it up in, but you can see he's got in his
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier if you can see it.
In the book text, there's a bunch of this mumbo jumbo here, and the book text is done in like pseudo HTML. Like it uses a very minimalist amount of HTML that you can use, which most of the tags that are allowed. So if you don't know any HTML, you can usually find this stuff in those notes, and it's usually just like changing the font size or centering the text, things like that. But you can see he added these things that say alias equals raider boss, alias equals raider location, and basically those will get replaced with the name of that thing as long as they're set up correctly on the alias. The other trick is that the actual book itself has to exist in the world, so it has to be a reference. It can't just be in this form in the creation kit, which is what he's done here with this create ref object too. And it has to be on an alias in the quest with these aliases set up. It's kind of confusing, but basically,
And then you have to make sure that alias is created first too. That you're going to put it
right. Right.
So there's a lot. Confusing matters even more.
It's the most ridiculous system to set up name replacement. I don't know why Bethesda did it this way. There's so many easier ways they could have done this, made it real streamlined. But for whatever reason, it's this really crazy, complicated process where you have to. But the easiest part is in the note, is just setting up this alias equals thing. One of the things that Monkey just realized he did wrong was the names have to match exactly. So like if there's a space in one in here, it needs to match exactly to what you have the name of the actual alias. But this Raider bounty note, he's created it. He's checked in use stored text, which basically is saying you're going to use the name. And again, this is one of those things where if you're starting to code and you're with Papyrus and you've done Papyrus stuff, you're probably wondering like, where are my string functions? Why can't I use get name from an actor? This is
not so simple.
Well, part of the reasons it's so complicated is because of localization. So that because you don't want to just grab the string directly from the ESP, because those strings will get replaced based on the language that they're using. So I think part of that is why it's so complicated, and it's again unnecessary. They could have totally written a simple script to do this, or a much simpler system, but it is what it is. And so use stored text on the note itself, and then on these things you want to get the name for, there's a stores text checkbox. This is what Monkey was talking about. So I want to bring up the Raider boss here. And stores text just means take the name of whatever object is in this alias, grab the name of it, and make sure that we can get access to it. That's what stores text means. So in this case, whatever Raider boss this is, so it's, if it's like Jared, or I'm trying to think of some of the other bosses' name, Red Tourette, any of those people, like that name will get stored for access. So then anywhere, any notes that have alias equals Raider boss that are on this quest will know that we'll be able to get the name of that exact Raider boss. And so that's how he's got this set up. By creating a copy of that note here in this quest, that note can then grab access to the names of any of the aliases here that have stores text checked in. Very cool, very cool little thing, but it's a pain in the ass to set up.
That was quite a tangent we went on there, wasn't it?
Yeah, good for people to know, though. That's one of those things that drove me nuts. I think I probably spent dozens of hours trying to figure this system out when I was working on Sim Settlements for the initial release, because it was like super important to me that I had that plaque system.
So yeah, that's how you get like
the building designers,
the players' names on the on objects too.
Yeah, you can get the player's name.
Same system that way. So if you go to quest stages on this one, 0, note waiting, there's another thing I wanted to do. After you kill, say, Red Tourette, and say you kill Red Tourette at normal part of mission progression, then you go back and you want to get a Radiant quest, and by random chance, the Red Tourette's dungeon is respawned after a month. But by random chance, the quest gives you Red Tourette's dungeon again, and Red Tourette's marker is filled in by a generic boss then.
Yeah.
Who is just as strong as Red Tourette's, but is given the name Raider Survivalist or Raider Boss.
Right.
And if you look on my quest stages on that one, you don't have the script to go with that.
That's okay. I get what you're getting at.
What I have on stage 0 on that quest is Raider Boss .get actor reference .set name Smilin' Bob. And I'm just trying to set the name of not even to really do anything other than make it a little bit more individual. Set the name of the Raider Survivalist, the repeated boss, to something unique, even if I draw it from a list or something. But right now I was just trying to do Smilin' Bob as a proof of principle, and it wasn't working. It would still be Raider Survivalist.
Right.
And I'm not sure how would I go about doing that.
Yeah. So this is a pain in the butt one. Because the way
I put that little script fragment in your Discord window if you want to see what I'm talking about.
I think I know what. Let's see here. Get actor reference, set name. So set name, I believe, is an F4SE function. It's not available in the vanilla.
Really?
I don't know. I'm 90% certain set name is not a vanilla.
I did not catch that when I was looking in the wiki.
But even if it were, it's hard. That's something you got to watch out for when you're searching for papyrus functions.
It says it at the bottom, but I didn't catch it.
Yeah. But I don't think set name is a default function. So basically, what we want to do is you're probably right here. So we've got Raider Boss. Yeah. So if we got Raider Boss, we look at this alias. This is going to store text the moment that this alias is filled. So by then, it's too late to change the name. The name that is stored is the one that was initially there.
That's what I kind of figured.
So what we probably have to do instead is we're going to need a second alias. So it would be like duplicating this guy.
Oh, and then you could force to display the name of the second alias?
Right. So then we turn off stores text on the first one. And then we basically could do, so what would we do here? What would be the best way to do this? So we'll turn off stores text on the first copy. We'll do force into alias on fill to force it into the second one. So we'll do it. Actually, no, we don't want to do it that way. Okay, so we're gonna.
We don't have the alias yet to force it into either.
We don't have. Well, that doesn't matter. That won't matter. So let's try this again. Let's delete this guy. And this is part of some of the fun part of modding. It's, well, for me anyway, is like trying to come up with creative solutions to all this. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a new reference alias, and we're gonna put it after Raider Boss, but before Raider Bounty Note. And you're gonna have to update your Raider Bounty Note to reflect the name of this. But we're gonna type it. We're gonna make it specific reference, and stores text. And we're gonna do. And probably need to flag optional on this alias name, and we'll call this Raider name text holder. Call it that. Hit OK, and then we'll move this up using these little arrows to make sure it's above the Raider Bounty Note. So then what I'm thinking we can do is in our Raider Boss here, we will set up a script on the alias that's. I think there's one called on alias and on alias fill, something like that. Let's check here. Bring up our creation kit site, and we'll search for reference alias and see what we've got available. But what you have to, so you have that set name function that's an F4SE. The way you do it otherwise is more of a pain, and this is going to require you to basically set up a separate quest with a bunch of what I would call name stamps on it. So it would, which I'll show you guys how to set that up in a second here. But first I want to figure out what our options are to trigger this. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like it's going to get the events from object reference and actor. It's not going to help us. Okay. Oh, here we go. Extends alias script. This is another one to watch for with events. Is if you see extends at the top of the page on Creation Kit, if you click on the one that's extending, all of the functions and events that are on the level above it will also get sent to your item, and that can be something where you can. There's a lot of cool functionality that's buried that way where you might not find. So here we go. So we'll do on alias init. So we can set up a new script on our Raider boss, and we'll use the on alias init event to know that the alias has been filled, and then we can do things to that reference. So we'll bring up our little notepad thing, and I'll just write another pseudo script. So this guy, if I can fit, good enough. All right, that's great. Okay, so let's start out with our doing this properly. So it would be script name. It's let's see, change alias name on init. This extends reference alias. And then, so what you're going to need here is you're going to need some other reference alias with the actual name you want to use. This is going to get confusing right here, but I'm going to just do a temporary thing because, like you said, you want to just proof of concept.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set up something temporarily with the intention that you're going to need to extend this into something much more complicated.
Yeah.
So reference alias property, we'll call this name stamp alias. And then we'll do this. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go, let's see, object reference. This ref equals get ref. And the reason we can do this, we can just do get ref, having called anything, because this is going to be on this. So it's implied that get ref is being called on this thing that the script's on. So we're getting the ref from the alias that this is on. Then we're going to do name stamp alias dot apply to ref this ref. And so now we have to show you what a name stamp alias is and what that looks like. But this is effectively with the script that's going to end up on you're going to put this script on your Raider boss. So it can go in addition to default alias on death. So you'll have a second script there, and that's fine. But what we'll end up doing in the future is this reference alias name stamp alias will probably go away, and it will become like a quest or it might become it might even be easier to set this up as, because I don't know how deep you're going to go with this, but maybe another way to do it would be to set up an array property with a whole bunch of different names, and then you just randomly pick one with like there's a utility.random int where you could grab a random index from it. But either way, this is just for proof of concept. This will work. So to set up our name stamp, so let's see, we determined we're going to uncheck stores text on this. You guys can just assume I added the text there. And we need to set up our name alias. Now, I'm going to just set it up on this quest. In reality, it would probably make more sense for you to set it up on some other quest. But what we're going to do here is we're going to take advantage of a little checkbox on aliases where you can apply all of the data that's on an alias to something else. So we're going to call this Smilin' Bob name. We're going to change it to specific reference. We're going to make it optional. We're going to put let's see, clear name when removed. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, can apply data to non-alias refs. And then we need our Smilin' Bob. So we're going to actually create a message for this. So we'll go to miscellaneous message, and we'll create a new one. KG demo Smilin' Bob. And I can't remember if this uses the message text or the title. So I'm going to just put it in both, because it won't hurt if it's in both. But I believe it uses the title for this. And then we'll just hit OK there. So we've got our message. And I'm actually going to, for the Smilin' Bob name, we have to do one more thing but because I just created the message, it's not going to be available. But what we want to do is set up the display name to be Smilin'. But that won't fill it out in this drop-down list until I hit OK and come back in. So come back in here. And again, in reality, you would set this up it would make more sense to set this up on a different quest, but we just want to get this up and running so you can prove to yourself that it works. And then as you'll see, as soon as I selected a display name from the dropdown, the uses stored text checkbox here checked itself in and grayed out because it has to be checked in. So that's one of those things you don't even have to worry about. But what we're basically setting up here is we're setting this up as what I call a stamp. And it means that this alias is never going to hold anything itself. It's just going to be applied to other things. And the reason we can do that is because of this bottom right-hand checkbox, can apply data to non-aliased refs. And then you use this function called apply to ref, and basically you take anything you have set up on this alias can be like stamped onto somebody. So you could stamp a faction on them, you could stamp a keyword on them, you could stamp an AI package onto them, you could add items to their inventory, you can change their name, you can change their AI packages, and like you can just do anything you could set up on an alias, you can set up to anybody you want on the fly. And this is how a lot of the settlement system is set up with the workshop scripts, is they have once a person becomes a settler. So if you think about somebody like Sheffield in Diamond City, he starts out and he's got his own AI packages. He's doing things, hanging out in Diamond City, and then you recruit him, and all of a sudden he wanders back to Diamond City. And the way they do that is with an alias stamp. They basically have all of the workshop stuff. So the workshop AI packages and the workshop factions are on an alias, and they just stamp this onto Sheffield, and now all of a sudden he decides to go wander to a settlement instead of hanging out in Diamond City.
I did not know what that did. That's cool.
So now we have Smiling Bob name set up correctly. Now, for the sake of this demo, because I think we're going to run into like a sequencing issue with aliases, I'm going to actually move this up to the top. It probably doesn't matter, but normally I would set this up on a whole separate quest, and then it wouldn't even be an issue. But just to make sure this works, I'll do it that way. So then what we would do is when we set up this script we wrote here, this change alias on it, we would change our name stamp alias property. We would tell that to point to Smiling Bob name. So now, in theory, what happens is Raider Boss gets, so the quest is filling, and it's going to go fill in all these aliases one at a time. So it's going to fill in Raider location. Then it's going to go to Raider Boss. It's going to search for that boss. It'll fill that, which will then trigger our little script here. And that script is going to say, okay, grab this reference, grab the whatever reference the game found a Raider Boss, and apply the name Smiling Bob to it. So then we need one more thing in our script. So now we need another reference alias. And we're going to call this Raider name text holder alias. And then we're going to go Raider name text holder alias dot force ref to this ref. So what we're doing here is we're taking another alias, and we're going to make sure that our guy that we just renamed is also in that alias. And this Raider name text holder alias, when we set up that property, is going to be pointing to our Raider name text holder reference. So now our script will finish. It will have done all those things. Then it's going to fill out bounty clipboard. Then it's going to come down to Raider name text holder. It's going to see it's already filled because we forced it with this little script. Then Raider bounty note will fill. And theoretically, as long as you change the text of this Raider note, so instead of looking for alias Raider boss, if we tell it to instead look for Raider name text holder, in theory, this should work. So now this should theoretically grab whatever alias's name is in there. And since at the time, ignore all, hit OK here. Wow, there's a lot of stuff it doesn't like spelling of. In theory now, the bounty note should have whatever name was there, which in our case should be Smiling Bob. So that should work. This is how I do for sim settlements for the startup wizard that we have. In order to get all of the settlement names to show up as a selectable item, I had to set up 128 of these.
Oh god,
this is nonsense. So that it could dynamically grab the settlement location and then apply it to notes that we could pass around. So this is how I do that, and I think this will work.
Yeah, I would definitely want to put this on another quest. I can just keep drawing for gunners too, yeah. and anything else.
Yeah, and then you could just have a whole series of aliases, and you could also do something like write some other script. So if we, so I don't lose this text here. Was it Control? Was the zoom? Control plus. So we could have like some sort of alternate quest. So it would be like script name, naming quest, extends quest, and then like say something like an array of reference aliases, property name aliases auto const, and then you would set up all your aliases on that quest, and then it would be, you'd write a function like, let's see, function name me, and then we would send it an object reference as our parameter, some guy, and then we would do, let's see, name aliases, and we want to grab a random alias out of here. So to do a random one, we need an index. So we need, let's see, I random index equals it's utility dot random int. Now indexes are 0 based, which means that the first entry. So if this was like, say this was 128 different names, first entry is going to be entry 0. The second one is entry 1. It's very confusing. It's how computer science is done. And then so the highest number is actually the length, the total number minus 1. So to do that, you would do name alias is that length minus 1. So now this will give us a random. So this right here, this little line will give us a random one of the name alias, one of the indexes. So we can use that here. Oops. And then we do apply to ref some guy. And now basically, now you have this quest where you can call this quest dot name me and send it something, and it'll give it a random name in that pile. So then you can
something from the array.
Right. So then instead of this, so then if we go back to our previous quest, instead of having a property of name stamp alias, we could have it a property of naming quest, and then because you can use as a property type, you can use the name of another script, and then that'll allow it so that it has access to all of the functions defined in that quest. So now we can do this. Instead of doing name stamp dot apply to ref, we can do naming quest dot name me and send it this ref. And now our setup here of our old script, just changing those two lines, and theoretically setting up this other quest with all those names. Now those same two lines just give it a random name instead of Smiling Bob.
Cool.
So that's, I mean, there's a chance that I'm wrong on some of the order of the sequencing of how these come up, where it might be that you actually have to separate this out to two quests, where it's like the first one grabs the raider boss, renames them, then triggers the second quest to start. It's possible you have to do something that wonky, but I don't think so.
Hope not. I'm barely grasping this one. I'm not a very good script writer.
Well, if you followed along, I mean, you can literally.
I can always rewind and you can just watch this over.
Right. Well, I'll just copy paste this into Discord, so you don't have to lose it. So you don't have to do that, because what a pain. All right. So there's the potential naming quest, and if there's like errors in this, you can always message me on Discord later, and I can repair them. But that should do what you needed. All right. Did you have anything more on your list you wanted to tackle? Because otherwise,
it's getting late. Why don't we get to Outfit Studio or something?
Yeah, it's already been an hour and a half doing this. Okay. Well, I hope everybody learned a lot from this. I know I was trying to go a little slower. I've gotten commentary on my past streams that I was kind of buzzing by things without explaining it to people.
Oh, this was your slow setting? Good Lord.
That was my slow setting, yeah. That was my slow setting. I mean, that's why I do Bethesda Mod School too, is like then I can take either smaller concepts and kind of stretch them out over an hour and a half. So like, because like, yeah, we could probably do an hour and a half detailed video just on one part of the naming, much less the random quest stuff we covered, because the naming is so unnecessarily complicated, but it is what it is. All right, so
yeah, we use that phrase a lot with Creation Kit.
Yeah, unnecessary.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so
did you have some questions about Outfit Studio? Or
yeah. So there's a couple of things in Outfit Studio I've been trying to do lately, and then I'm into all. So I'm gonna just name a couple of things, and you can tell me which of them you could show off fairly quickly, or that you have some info on. So one of the things I often want to do is make a Under Armour version of existing vanilla armor. So like, say for example, I want to take something like the varsity jacket and make it not look like trash when it's got shoulders over top of it.
Okay. That was probably going to be just body sliders in Outfit Studio and trying to compress it. It depends if on the ESP.
Okay.
file too. There's a couple ways you can do this. Have you noticed that when you put on fatigues in the game and then you put armor over the fatigues, the armors grow in size, right?
I did not notice that.
You haven't noticed that? Say your character is wearing a the torso combat armor over the vault suit, and then you to switch it out with the fatigues. You'll notice that the armor grows in size to wrap around the fatigues. Have you not seen that?
No. Is that set up at the fatigue level, or is
That's
that
set up at the plugin level?
Interesting.
And
okay. So yeah, I have no idea. I had no idea about. But
that's a lot easier to see and manipulate in F4SE. But if you have bulky under armor, that's what that does. There's bone data that you put in the armor add-on, and it goes with specific bones that you see in Outfit Studio. As you click down the outfit, you go, this is the back skin or the belly skin, and there's some numbers associated with each one. I have no idea what the frickin' numbers do, to be honest, but what I do is I will say like the uniform fatigues for my guards in my sheriff's mod are wearing leather coats, but I want them to work as Under Armour too. And so what I would do is I'd find something in the game that is kind of bulky like the leather coat, but is also used as Under Armour. And in this case, it was for me the Raider Long Johns. And I basically just dragged and dropped those bone weights over to my entry, and it looks pretty nice. I mean, I was just sourcing the vanilla numbers already because each bone is assigned 3 numbers. I can only assume that they're like inflation numbers for X, Y, and Z axis at that bone.
Okay. But, can you show us what that looks like? Because I've never even seen these numbers you're talking about. But the only thing I've done 2 things successfully in Outfit Studio to date. One is use the like molding tools to just kind of, stretch and expand or shrink the chunks of the mesh. Like I've done that. And then I've like mashed, where I've just like taken multiple objects, put them all in the same NIF and re-exported it. And that's about as extensive as I've done in Outfit Studio. I've never messed with the weighting successfully. Like every time I've tried to do it, I feel like I'm a massive failure at it.
Okay. So if you open Fallout 4 ESM,
and I'm gonna bring up I'm gonna full screen your stream so they can see your screen. If you guys want a higher resolution for this, you might want to grab the link from my description to go to Monkeys.
Let me see if I can increase, because this is pretty small font on my screen.
Yeah, well, and I'm restreaming this. It's gonna look probably extra bad, but at least this will be in sync with you talking, is what I'm hoping, rather than them watching me fumble around in Outfit Studio not knowing what I'm doing.
All right, hold up a second. I got to rename some directories. Did not expect because the
So this is stuff. So you're doing stuff in Xedit as opposed to doing stuff in Outfit Studio, or is it both that you do this?
I do this in Xedit and Outfit Studio, depending on the application. I may need to. Damn it! It's not letting me rename that directory. Creation kit's open. No wonder. Depending on what you need to do, because Outfit Studio is great for warping meshes and everything, but you're not going to get meshes warped in Xedit. That's just for basic plugin manipulation.
Right.
And this is. Damn. Are you getting that beep too? You hearing that?
No, I don't hear
Okay,
beeps.
good. Because I'm getting a lot of frickin' errors that are saying, this file is open in another window. Let me get that. I'm trying to get FO4 edit open with some proper records so you guys can see it. I don't think it's going to work, so let me just use the Fallout 4 version. Can you guys see okay on this? This is a really small font, and
yeah, it's pretty tough to see, but I think if you're talking through it while you're showing it, even if we can't see the text, I think it'll help to get an idea of what you're trying to do here. But yeah, the font is pretty damn tiny.
This sucks. All right, so let's find some. I'm scrolling down trying to find some fatigues. Right here. Closed Desdemona. That's one of them. And let's see, is that an armor add-on or armor record that I... Yeah, I made the mistake. This is the armor add-on records. Okay, we're talking about
armor add-on records to do this, or are we doing the armor?
Armor add-on records is where this bone data is stored. Okay. I'm trying to find a good example right now off the top of my head.
No problem. I'm bringing up Exit right now, and once you find it, I'll try and follow along. So
here we go. Greaser jacket.
Okay, I'm gonna move this over here.
The AA clothes greaser jacket.
Got it. Okay, let me see if maybe they can see it a little better on my screen. Do we have? I believe we were added. They added support to increase the font size in Exit in one of the recent versions, didn't they?
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to rename this stuff, because it was I did the same thing you did. Is I created a podcast directory, install a Fallout 4 to ensure no errors, and now the Xedit is a little confused because what I'm trying to edit is not in the real Fallout 4 directory.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get that directory renamed if I have it all closed yet. No, it won't rename that yet.
I'm sure it's some arbitrary program,
sure
like something you have open, like a material or something that's just not happy about it. Because basically anything you have open in that directory would prevent that.
There we go. I think this should be larger text. And I'll open mine too. And a little bit more pleasing to the eye because it's darker.
Yeah, my Xedit is taking forever to load today. Like just with Fallout. I wonder if I forgot to. Maybe it loaded all of my plugins by mistake. Oh, it looks like it's just loading Fallout 4 ESM. I don't know what's going on. Usually that's one of the advantages to using Xedit is you get to bypass the horrible loading speed, but I'm up to over a minute and a half still loading.
Greaser jacket go, and what's the name of that lady who hates you at the castle? Military fatigues. That'll work too. Ronnie actually has her own clothes named after her in there too, I think. But
okay, so we're messing with military fatigues. So I'm at AA clothes military fatigues.
Good Lord, now it's not letting the tip menu go away.
Yeah, that's because it's still loading references. So it has to build all the like cross references.
Jesus.
That's what I just had happen.
But yeah, we're going military fatigues and the greaser jacket. Do you have my stuff on the podcast?
No, I switched over to my screen because I think I can a little easier for people to see.
Okay.
Because I'm not restreaming, so it should be a little better to see. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, you're scrolling down to the right spot, and those are the values right there.
So how do those work? Because I was under the impression that had to do with how much the movement of that bone impacted that section of the. Or am I thinking of something totally different?
That's not the same type of bone data.
Got it. Okay.
This is for inflation values, and right there, that is the bones that you see listed there are to assign that inflation value, quote unquote. I don't even know if that's what it's called.
Right.
To that bone, to that area of the outfit.
But it only does it to other items. It's not this one. Is that accurate?
It only does it to items that you put on top of this, that you equip with this outfit.
Interesting. I wonder what Bethesda does because I imagine that it would be pretty awful to have to do this.
Oh, it's something in 3DS. You can do this in 3DS and import the data directly into CK. It's just be above my pay grade.
Right. So that sounds like I'm going to put that.
So I hijack those, and for say the Diamond City Guard uniform fatigues, they use Desdemona's pants, but they use the either the greaser jacket or the road leathers from the Raiders, the tops. So I will just drag and drop those over. And all the lower bones from Desdemona's, and all the upper bones from the greaser jacket or the road leathers. I think it's the
Okay.
road leathers, and assemble my own sort of
Yeah.
profile for how much that armor will inflate when wrapped around that Under Armor.
Interesting. So this seems like this is a type. This is one of those things where it's there's a whole mod here that no one's bothered to make because it would be a lot of work. Because I know that there's versions like I think AWKCR even does this. Like allows everything to be used as Under, but it looks terrible because nobody has bothered to figure
Yeah.
out all these bone values. But like this would be a huge mod. I think people would be all about this. If
Pain in
somebody
the
took
ass
time
to
figure
do
it out.
too.
Right,
I mean,
but
you can
that's
take the
why I'm
guesswork
thinking
out of it if you know how to do the workflow from 3DS, but I do not. I don't even
Right,
know what
that's
they're
why
called. I'm here calling them inflation values. I'm sure they're not called that.
Right. Well, I'm putting it on my list of like things to research
Okay.
to see if we can find a workflow from 3DS.
And I mean, if you
because-
send me what was the outfit you were looking to put him under, the high school jacket?
yeah, I was trying to
I'd-
turn the high school jacket
I
into.
would I'd copy the leg values from the either the greaser
Well,
jacket or the
the legs actually on that are already under.
oh, all
so
right.
that's
I'd probably
cool,
just
figured out.
copy the values from the uniform fatigues to start with.
Okay. All right, I'll try that.
Just the upper values because the legs seem to be fine. I mean, because if you open the vanilla outfit in Outfit Studio and you go to the bones tab, it'll list those very same bones, so you can see what areas correspond to what on the body.
Gotcha. Okay. So using the combination of the two, you can kind of fumble your way through this.
Yeah, you get better. A little bit goes a long way on these numbers too.
Yeah.
Because I remember, setting one to 1 sometime or something like that for the torso, and it stuck out like Dolly Parton was wearing the armor and stuff.
Right. Well, I'm guessing that these are percentages, right? So
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna
would
be
assume
like,
so. Yeah.
bump it up by 25% on the x-axis or something.
I don't even know if that's what these axes are.
Right.
I just
I
know
mean,
that
usually when you see that, that's what you'd assume, right? You see three
Yeah.
values, and you're going to assume that's X, Y, Z.
that's
But
definitely
this
what
seems
this
like
controls,
if we can, if we can come up with a workflow from 3DS, this could be like somebody could take this on as a project and make a instant hot files mod. Like this would be everybody would want this.
I think I might have even seen a workflow somewhere over a year ago, way before I knew anything really about modding, about how to do it. Because you would you store the values. You say you would have the armor as it is in its normal form, and you store all those values as 0, and then you load up the Under Armor, and then you stretch that armor around it, and it keeps track of the displacement of all these armors along those axes, and it stores those somehow as values, the differences.
Right.
And then you upload those.
Okay, well, I'm going to put this on my list as a potential tutorial for mod school, because this seems like it would be super useful. I would love to I would kill for a set of all that data to just have
somebody out there has to know how this works.
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
It's not
like having
how to knows how it works set in stone solidly. I just know there's this corresponds, and a little bit on the numbers goes a long way. I kind of reconstruct monkey see what monkey do type of a puzzle thing here.
Pun intended on the name. Okay, cool. So that's that. So that's still in Under Armour. So then I guess another big one, and I've asked you about this a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot for Sim Settlement stuff when we're doing quest work and characters, especially for Conqueror stuff. Is we tend to do a lot of outfit mashups because it's just the amount of work that goes into a fresh outfit from scratch is so high that it's just not worth it for our artists. Yeah. So we do a lot of mashups, and there are certain issues that come up with mashups. 2 of them in particular, I think we run into all the time. One of them, I think I've got my head wrapped around. You've shown me, and that's the fact that for a lot of outfits, especially if they're like short sleeve or have like alpha out, hole in the pants, there's actually a copy of a character model, like a skin, included, so that way skin can show through.
Yep.
And that often can result in clipping, where like you just see like random chunks of flesh through the clothing. That's one issue, and I think part of you showing me that is that you can actually just delete pieces of the flesh where it doesn't need to be seen.
Yeah,
so that one's easy.
You got to think of it this way. Maybe this will help your viewers. When your character wears an outfit in the game, it's not actually putting the outfit over your character's body. It is putting your character's head and hands on the outfit.
Right.
And basically substitution is going on, unless you tell it otherwise. You can tell it to put it over the body, but then you get the clipping that you saw, and also you don't see the body. And some of these, the booby bodies are like 50,000 verts or something like that, insane, and you're not seeing any of that. So you can delete that all. You can't see through the clothes, so don't only have one layer of mesh covering any given area to prevent clipping. You don't need anything more. You keep it simple. You keep the polys reduced, because these are all sub-index polys too. The game has to do a lot of extra math on the side when you move these meshes according, on a skeleton or something, as opposed to a static, like a Deathclaw statue or something like that, which is a lot easier to render versus a moving Deathclaw.
Right. So having, like, when we start doing outfit mashups, if you don't go through and remove those extra layers, you're actually making the game perform terribly.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra work for the game. You want to have as few weighted vertices, meaning body and motion attached vertices as possible.
So I brought up something on screen. This is the best I could think to do.
The bathrobe.
To explain to people was the bathrobe. Was like, you can see that there's the legs there. There's a little bit of chest showing. And that was a, let me see, can you do that with preview? No, that's an option. I was trying to figure out how to expand this preview window, but I can't. So unfortunately, that's as big as you guys get.
You can drag and drop into Outfit Studio too, and go to a wireframe view or something.
I don't have Outfit Studio on this computer, and I don't want to install it right now. So mostly because I'm worried it's gonna like pop open a CBBE model or something.
You can drag and drop NIFs into Outfit Studio.
Yeah, I know. I'm just not gonna install it right now.
But you'll notice that there's only as much leg as needed under that bathrobe.
Right. And that's because I think the robe is like open up to the white spot here where it can kind of flutter a little bit. So it actually has, I think it has a fair amount of leg, because we actually use this for one of our characters in Conqueror. And periodically, like when he sits down, there's like a pretty hefty amount of leg showing.
Yeah, I use it for the pajamas in my bleachers initially, and I was like, oh, they're flashing everybody when they get into bed. And I think so.
So I guess that's one of the issues. So it's is remembering to delete the lower level layer stuff that doesn't need to be visible.
Yeah, you want as little skin as possible. When I started doing modding, I started doing conversions of outfits, and the full coverage outfits are the best because you can delete all the body underneath. They're the cheapest to render. They're the easiest to convert. They're the easiest to make sure there's no clipping, because your character is walking around on a bodysuit, or your character is a head walking around on a set of fatigues. There's no clipping. There's no way to clip because there's only one layer and it's just the fatigues.
So as far I guess the way it works technically is that any of the pieces of skin are probably tagged with some special flag so that it knows to match the character's skin color.
Yeah, it does. Also, I should mention that in the armor and armor add-on records, there are the slots. Maybe you've seen those, right?
Oh yeah, I've used those extensively. Yeah, so you've got
I believe one of them will tell you. Let me see the number that will tell you 33. That tells the game to get rid of the native body, the naked body underneath. Yeah.
Okay, so the biped object here, those are the ones that it gets. So this is something that's always confused me. So you've got here. So if we look at this bathrobe,
so you have 33. So it gets rid of the naked body underneath. But say you have a bathrobe thong for CBBE, which is not that far fetched for Nexus mods.
Right.
You would uncheck 30.
Okay.
Because 33, sorry, because you want to leave the naked body underneath because you're just putting this terry cloth thong on the character.
Right.
But normally, it's all fatigues. You're doing a mashup. You have a collar. You got the boots. You got the whole 9 yards covering the character. So check that 33 body slot, and it will remove the naked body.
Gotcha. So So I'm pretty sure in this case you're talking about on the armor record. What I've been curious about
those are in both. I don't know which overrides. I don't know which takes priority. I just make them. I just have parity between the two.
Well, the only reason I think it must be the armor record is because if you look at the armor add-on, it has Pet Boy checked in as if it would remove that, and it doesn't. So like most of the AAA records have Pip-Boy chicken, but if you equip them as the player, they don't lose their Pip-Boy. It doesn't get replaced. So I think it must be because I know the armor slot, whatever's checked in here, it makes it so that only like that slot is filled and can't have anything else in it. So like this is one way you can force items to be stackable, is to remove some of the slots they use.
Yeah.
So for example, you could change, like we could take this bathrobe and change it to Under Armour. This is what there's mods out there that make everything capable of being Under Armour. All they've done is on the armor record, they select the U records.
That's
for
what the U and
torso
the A
and
are.
arm
So
frames.
the U
Right.
torso would be a tight T-shirt, but the A torso would be the armor that goes on the torso.
Right. So
Under Armour
that's
torso and armor torso.
what I've been curious about is what the hell do the ones on the armor add-on do? Because it has the same
I don't know.
list of things. Yeah, but I don't. And it's
I
all,
just
it's
make
based on-
parity between the two records usually.
Okay.
Like I have no idea, so I make them both right.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'm not really sure how this works. I've never run.
That might
this
be
is
a question for Gambit 77.
Okay, like what the
Armor
difference? Like
Smith.
what does this do on the A records versus what does it do on? Because it's clearly different. You can see that on any outfit, there's different things checked in on each. It's very rarely that they're identical between the, at least from Bethesda stuff. I mean, you said you do parody, but looking at it from Bethesda stuff, it's never parody.
That doesn't surprise me.
Rarely.
I'm never surprised by Beth anymore.
All right, I'm gonna put that on my list of like things to research because I hate leaving these. I hate bringing up these questions, especially in front of an audience, and being like, "I have no idea how this works," and then never being able to solve it. Like I would like to come back someday and be like, "Okay, I know exactly how this works and why this is this way." Because sometimes learning that type of thing like opens up all sorts of new doors for new things you can do in mods. Where it's like, "Oh, okay, I understand how that works," and then that like just unlocks new things you can try. Like that's a lot of the features that have been added to Sim Settlements over the past couple of years have just been because I just do stuff like this. Like I just get obsessed about something and then I learn how it works and then it's like, wait, okay, I could use this for this and this and this, and then we get new features.
Yeah, you gotta make each resource scream and give everything it has, every little trick you learn. I mean, as evidenced by all the glow maps and FX motion in the greenhouse that I made.
Yeah, your stuff is nuts. Like the miles, like the greenhouse, the Nuka-Cola lighting, the unicorn god race, it's like miles above what everybody else is workshop. It looks so sci-fi by comparison, like the amount of extra little bells and whistles you've done.
Yeah, this gets it gets feature creep, but eventually I put a cork on it. A lot of people give me crap and stuff. Thank you, demanding. But for how long my mods take, but eventually I try to put a cork on. I'm learning to make smaller mods. I say as I keep working on the sheriff's department I've been working on for years.
All right, I got one last one that I would love you to show us in Outfit Studio, and this is something you've tried to explain to me. You've tried to explain it to me. I think we did a live stream where you showed me on your computer, and it just didn't click yet. And I'm thinking maybe it will if I have it on record and I can just watch it anytime. Is doing, and you have told me this is very complicated, but I know a lot of people have tried this, and that's armor mashups with solid meshes. So like, say I want a grenade on my belt, like that is something very difficult to do. I know you are one of the few people who knows how to do it and do it. Can you show us how to do something like that? Could you like bust out, take an outfit, any outfit, and like make a grenade, a clip to the belt where it looks good? Because one of the problems most of us will find when we do this is we'll end up with massive warping. The grenade will like stretch and look all awkward.
Oh, you want some proper weighting instructions?
Yes, weighting instructions. Or it will either that or it'll float in a weird location. Like there's so many ways to do this incorrect, and I see a lot of people come to the Sim Settlements mod server and are like, I want to do custom outfits by mashing things up, and they always run into the problem of like, I can't get this solid item to look correctly, and I don't know how to help them. I always screwed up myself.
All right, let me load up the right skeleton in my Outfit Studio. That is weighting to bones, and for any of your viewers who don't know what weighting means, I'm trying to navigate my tools and talk at the same time, not being very successful. There we go. For anybody who doesn't know what weighting means, it's how the game determines that the cloth around the pant legs moves with the legs versus moves with the head or the hands.
Right. So it's like it's what part of the mesh is tied to what bone and how much influence that bone has over the stretching and bending of that part of the mesh.
So it's not just a label to each bone that controls that mesh. It's how much is controlled by that bone node too. And
right, because like the pant leg you mentioned, so like the like for example the knee bone and the calf bone and the foot bone would all have a little bit of pull on like the calf area of the pants. Like
depending on where some would have more than others. The knees, the parts of the pants near the knee would have be influenced more greatly by the knee, but say the person's sitting down, so you want that rear of the pant leg to stretch. So a little bit of towards the top or the bottom will still be influenced by the knee, but not as much. And you can see these as colors represented in Outfit Studio.
The Outfit Studio does a great job of displaying.
Oh, you got me on the screen there. Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm just streaming you. I don't have Outfit Studio installed, so I've just full screened yours. So people are just watching what you're doing.
Let me pull up some armor on there. One of the best outfits to do things with is the Field Scribe, because it's so bulky and it's got a lot of packages, little pouches and everything. And gloves, there it is. Bones. So I'm not sure when your viewers do catch up, or maybe I'm not caught up on seeing my own stream come back at me through you. This is.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's gonna be a delay. That's fine. This is one, like anybody who's listening to your audio will be in real time. But if you're listening to Monkey through my audio, you're sorry.
But you're gonna see me click through these, and I'm opening the Field Scribe here, and I'm gonna settle on the Spine 1 rear skin, and Spine 2 rear skin.
But yeah, we can see one of them right now. You've got like the belly skin click.
And you see all those colors that's coming out. Those are represented. Those are like kind of heat maps, just like the weather radar. The more red it is, the more of that particular vertex is controlled by the bone that's highlighted. So I'm settling here. Right, I'm talking right here. You eventually will catch up. I'm seeing Spine 1 rear skin, and you'll see there's some lighter green. And then there's some darker blue as part of the pouches. The lighter green on the coat fades into a sort of blue. Okay. And that means that those meshes are not equally influenced by... Those particular vertices are not equally influenced by Spine 1 rear skin. Parts of those vertices will move more with Spine 1 rear skin than other parts of that mesh. So you will get warpage. They're being pulled unevenly.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Okay, now look at the pouches on the back there, though. They're all one solid color. Yeah. That is how you avoid the warpage. Because all of that bag, every last vertex on that bag is the same color. And they will all be pulled.
Moves,
they will all be pulled with Spine 1 rear skin and Spine 2 rear skin. It will find a happy medium. And it will all be pulled in that way without warping. You can see the rope there at the bottom is the same way. It's solid color underneath the when it catches up again.
And it doesn't actually matter what color it is, right? As long as it's all identical, then that'll all get warped the exact same amount.
As far as where you want it to isolate, it matters what bones you assign it to. But the key to getting it not warped is having it all one solid color. So
interesting. Okay, that simplifies that a lot.
And I find that what's really simple or much easier to do is use something like the this has been the basis for this scribe outfit has been the basis for a lot of outfits and a lot of backpacks. You have the mailman's messenger bag too, is a great weighting source.
Okay.
What else is there? Sturgis's outfit and Tinker Tom's outfit are also really good for this good.
Tools on the belt. Yeah.
Did you know that? Speaking of Sturgis's outfit, it was a poorly kept but not really talked about. Not much of a secret for a long time that CBE breast physics were actually stolen from Sturgis's neck goggles.
Really?
Yeah, that's what you were seeing when you see the boobs bounce. You were seeing a very extended bone of the goggles around Sturgis's neck bounce when he moves.
I didn't even notice that his goggles bounced. That's hilarious.
But you'll see that on like a Piper's outfit. There's other bones. They're special cloth bones and cloth physics bones. McCready has a set of goggles on
Okay.
that hangs right from his kind of the frontish of his belt, and you'll
Okay.
see that those goggles are assigned a very special bone of their own, and
Interesting.
like binoculars cloth or something like that. I don't know what the bone is called, but
Okay.
say you have an outfit and the person has some steampunky thing hanging from the
Yeah.
belt in that same location, you can hijack that bone from McCready's outfit and give that item the same motion. So it kind of, because if you notice, if you do this stuff for a while in Outfit Studio, you watch characters' motions and how the outfits move, and you look for clues because the cloth physics are. I don't think anybody in the modding community has been able to successfully reproduce them themselves. We're always
No, because I think it
hijacking them.
requires like the professional version of Havoc, which isn't available.
Yeah, some software developer kit we don't have.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we hijack a lot of those cloth physics, and
Interesting.
I
So you
know.
could take like if a bone exists. So these list of bones, these are predetermined and coded into the body part data of and the HP and the behavior files, right?
Yeah, and they
That's how
only kind
that's
of work in that location that they're in too. And the cloth physics, you can only store one set of cloth physics per NIF file. So
interesting. So you can't like
usually,
take like Sturgis's thing and McCready's thing and put them in the same outfit.
well, you might be able to. You might be able to because
Interesting.
the cloth data is separate than the actual bone data. The bone draws from the cloth data. But I
Okay.
can't promise that it will work because weird things might happen. Say you try to use the cloth data from Sturgis's goggles on actual cloth. It might
Right.
behave a little different. I don't
Can
know.
it go? Can it be moved around the mesh at all, or does it always originate from that?
Not really. No, those bones are
Okay.
pretty isolated. Those cloth bones are isolated to the area they're in. I know that if you want to make a mental note, I know Piper has something around her left kidney that dangles off her belt for outfit
Okay.
references for Conquer, and I know that the McCready's got those binoculars.
Okay.
Sturgis has a lot of stuff too on his belt. Basically, you look for the pack rat characters that have a lot of pouches and
Right.
stuff
Right.
because
Okay.
Bethesda's really good at weighting those outfits with the cloth physics, and they're available. They're out there, and I really suggest taking advantage of those. They can make the outfits look a lot more realistic. So instead of like McCready's binoculars warping, they dangle and they swing back and forth when he takes a step.
Right. So
And
now, is there
yeah.
for setting up this weighting on these items? So like let's say for example we take the bone of McCready's binoculars and we want to apply it. Say we wanted to apply it to one of the packs on this guy's chest here or something.
Tell you what, why don't I
Like,
do that real
what is
quick?
yeah?
Right,
So
yeah.
what does it look like? Because like I've done the bone painting. I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't recall. But I imagine it works a lot like the editing of the mesh, where you can mask out part of it and use the tools in Outfit Studio to do that, and then you do something with the bones, with the bone weighting.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
you select the specific bone itself, and then you copy that over. But I'm gonna load up McCready's, and I got McCready's. There's the base. I don't know if. Yeah, you should be catching up pretty soon.
Yeah.
What does Preston Garvey have on him? I don't really pay much attention to him. I usually go put him in a. That's gloves. I usually put him in a settlement by himself and never pay attention to him again. You see those binoculars he's got? I'd be willing to bet Preston Garvey's. I'm looking at his stuff. I'd be willing to bet those pouches have cloth physics of their own.
Okay.
Yeah, cloth bone,
this-
pouch, collar. Look
Yeah.
at this.
So this was something they did to try and make the main character stand out.
Well, not just the main character. They at least, well, because with animations, they gave the main characters the main scenes and real animations, and then they phoned it in for the
Yeah.
rest of
They
it.
actually have some.
But
Right.
they did a real good job on the weighting on just about all the outfits. I'm looking at Preston Garvey's right now, and I'm highlighting. You'll see it when your viewers catch up. A pouch bone on the left hip.
Okay.
There's collar bones. There's another bag. There's cloth bones for his straps too to make them all move realistically.
Wow,
But
that's really cool.
that's all academic. I'm trying to find something. Yeah, let's just the field scribe. We'll move
Okay.
that on top of it. So first thing you want to do is set reference. And you'll see this pretty soon when the viewers catch up. I went back to the
You're backing up in studio, I assume.
and backing out to studio. You find the outfit that has the bone weights that you're interested in copying from,
Okay.
and you right click on that name in the right pane. You go down to set reference, and it will highlight that in green.
Okay.
It's about to catch up.
Yeah, we see
I
outfit.
accidentally
now,
tried to
so
drag the field scribe folder in there.
Yeah, I saw that whole.
There we go. I'm about to set reference. There it goes.
Is Conqueror in its last version? Oh, heck no. No, we got a long way still with Conqueror. Conqueror is going to be the first expansion that gets multiple years of development. With the priors, we did about a year of development on each of them. Conqueror, it's probably going to be 2, if not longer, because it's such a sprawling amount of content in it.
Okay, so I'm going to do another little tool that's really handy in Outfit Studio. It's masking. Outfit Studio has a great little masking feature that when you're trying to do an operation...
We just caught up to now you have the field scribe on top of.
Okay. When you... Let me see how... There we go. So I'm going to mask off just the pouch. And one of the cool things about Outfit Studio that they added recently is the ability to mask off by element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click just one little part of the center of the pouch.
Okay.
And then I'm going to hit D, the key D, over and over and over. And that will expand.
That's amazing. So that's using that, because I do that a lot in 3ds Max. It works fantastic.
Yeah. Well, see, this
Bethesda does a lot of like copy pasting in their 3D models, where it's like they come up with a chunk and then they just splatter it all over.
You see what I'm doing there is I'll highlight the little center of the pouch. It's about to happen now on the stream, and I just keep hitting D over and over.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
Tool.
That's so much easier, because the masking is kind of a pain in the butt to use.
It is, especially when it's precise. Now, sometimes all the mesh... This is by element. Sometimes the meshes aren't separated, and it doesn't work like that. You have to do it.
You have to get back to the manual. Just, take the mask, shrink it down real low, and just click vertice by vertice.
Yeah. So then you reverse that mask. You invert the mask. Or you go to tool.
This is one of those things where I think Outfit Studio needs to this. Like, this is so unintuitive. And it feels like you know what I mean? Like, it seems to me like you always wanted invert. Like, I don't understand why this is. Anyway, that's just me.
It's like the creation kit. Every way it works, it's just not intuitive. But eventually you get used to it. But what I'm about to do is I'm about to copy all those bone weights over, and I don't want the rest of the outfit to pick up those binocular weights. I want just that little pouch to dangle around as you requested. Right. So I mask off everything that I don't want to pick up the weights, and it's now dark. So I have just McCready's outfit, which is my source of weight. Okay. And on the field scribe, which is going to pick up the weight, I have just that little pouch highlighted. So only that pouch is going to pick up is going to be affected by the next operation I'm about to do. And so what I do is I highlight the outfit, and I'm the green one again. I go over to bones, and I scroll down. You'll see McCready has a ton of cloth bones. A lot of them are coat, so the coat dangles and flows when he walks. Which, that's great too. That's another thing that I use a lot of.
Yeah, that's a really cool looking effect. They got that on quite a few models. But
while
we're waiting for the thing to catch up, because you are way ahead of talking.
Yeah.
Somebody just super chatted. Logan's Vlogs. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. He super chatted a nice donation, which, by the way, anybody who donates anything to any of my sources, whether you send me money on PayPal or Patreon or through YouTube, all of it ends up going right back into the development of them. We just use it toward buying assets or prizes for our contests, stuff like that. Like, I have a job, funds my life, so I rather would take all of this money you guys are donating and put it back toward the thing you guys are using. So thank you, Logan's Vlogs, really appreciate it.
I hear he has strippers.
Well, we gotta have strippers for the launch parties, of course.
All right, so what I've got going on is I just highlighted all those different the bones that you saw, but
Okay.
I have the one that the binoculars are bone pouch O3.
And you can see that because it highlights red when you
Yep,
select it.
that's the only one's
Cool.
highlighted. So I go back to mesh tab.
Okay. This
I
is
go back to
this
the
is like so like it's so like crazy deep how much stuff is going on right here
and
that
this
I
is
had
just
no idea
scratching
you
the
could do.
surface of Outfit Studio. The sliders are an amazing tool too if you really know how to use them. There's a lot of users who know a lot more about Outfit Studio than I do, but I don't really use it for boobs anymore, even though it got me started on modding. So you want to do copy selected weights.
Okay.
You right click on the field scribe. It's about to catch up. You go back up to the meshes tab. You highlight the field scribe uniform because that's the source. Copy selected weights. You make sure that one bone was selected. Remember that I left
Wait. I
that
thought
pouch?
I thought the weights are coming from McCready's, right?
Yeah, they're coming from McCready's,
Okay,
and
because and
that's the green.
that's why it's because it's green. Got it.
That's the source. The green one is the source.
Okay.
So I want to copy the selected weights, and almost all the time the default settings that it's about to catch up to are good. And I don't really. Maybe we should do the radius a little bit more because of the pouch. The rear of the pouch is off from the binoculars, but it'll tell us if all the weights didn't copy over.
Okay, cool.
And then you click OK, and you don't see anything yet. But look at that. When I go back, it's going to show me copying them real quick. But then I'm going to stop, and you'll see that this outfit is now weighted. That pouch is now weighted the same as McCready's binoculars. I increased the radius a little bit there.
Okay.
It's catching up to me where I was like 20 seconds ago.
I got to come up with a better way to do this. Like when okay, yeah,
No
but
big
it's
deal.
all red there. Yeah, well, we'll come up. I'll get this perfected eventually. We'll come up with a better way. Because yeah, it's always awkward with this is just like the same thing that happens when we're doing like team meetings over Discord. It'll be one of us is trying to demo something to the team and showing it, and the voice comes through instantly, and then like we're waiting for the stream to catch up. Okay, so now that's what it seems. So now technically, if we obviously you would gut all of the McCready stuff out of here, but if we exported this NIF, then that pouch would bounce around just like those binoculars would. I think I lost you there, monkey. I lost your voice. All right. Well, we wait for his voice to come back. Giggy Marrow. I don't know. Jiggy Giggy. Yeah. There's a ton of great resources now to get started with modding. I've put out a couple of toolkits to help people get started from scratch. I always write my tutorials as if the person reading them knows zero. The toolkit that Uit just posted is, I think that's what that probably is. It's probably my builder's toolkit. That's a good resource to get started. I started a mod series called Bethesda Mod School. There's a playlist on my YouTube channel. And that, again, I try to approach everything from the perspective of somebody who's never modded a day in their lives. So there's actually stuff to teach you all of these different tools, how to use the creation kit, and it walks you through demonstration mods so that you can get something under your belt. And then another good resource is there's a YouTuber called Sedden4494. I think a lot of today's Fallout 4 modders got started through his stuff because he was one of the first people to figure out how a lot of things work in Fallout 4 and then put them in nice, simple tutorials and spread that information. So a lot of great resources out there now. Monkey, you back with us yet? I don't have your voice. Let's see. He might not even be able to hear me.
No, I'm here.
There he is. Okay.
Just waiting for you to done with Seddon's commercial. Well,
Okay, cool.
I got started with Seddon too. He's great.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's such a great resource.
He has brought so many modders into Fallout 4. It's ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm saving us Field Scribe 24. I was about to Seddon 4224. But another window will pop up when I try to save it, and it say choose cloth data. And it says the dialog window says something about cloth physics. You want to make sure that option is checked, the source of the cloth physics. You're about to see it pop up.
Okay.
And you click OK. But you want to save with the reference. You file export with reference. Sometimes, and I don't know why, the weighting doesn't stick. So you always export with the reference, and you go back. And I'm about to do it here. Open it with Outfit Studio. Find McCready's offending outfit because you want to get rid of it.
Right.
Remove that branch. And you could do a quick optimization too. Uh,
Okay, so the first time you export it, you are actually forced to export this monstrosity with both because that's how you can copy the physics.
yep.
Okay, that
Uh,
makes sense.
let me see. Yeah, the cloth bone pouch is still there. So let me save that and drag it back in. It's a lot of the time this will save the bone data even if I don't export with the reference, but it's more just sometimes it's happened and it's not reliable. So better safe than sorry.
Sure. So you think you find this you tend to do this in? Do you think it's better to do this in Nifscope or in Outfit Studio to do the gutting of the previous outfit?
Nifscope. For
Okay.
some reason, see the bone didn't stick all the way. What else? Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, that's some of the problems I'm having. Some of the old weighting stuck there with it. See, it's only green.
Yeah. Oh, and it
There's
needs to
still
be
some
red.
other weights influencing it.
Right. Gotcha. So you need to remove those other
Yeah.
things from affecting it. Okay. And then you can probably do the same thing you did before the element select and
That's what I'm about to
stuff
do
like
right
that.
now. I'm just showing you how to strip the bone weight from that.
Okay, cool. This is
So,
gonna be really useful of knowing how to remove
invert mass.
weighting. Yeah. Very cool. While he's doing this and we're waiting for the video to catch up, Logan, you said is this the first game you've been modding? No, I've been modding different since I was a teenager, so very 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 long time. So I definitely came into this with some experience. I'm also a professional programmer, so I was able to use that knowledge to get started with Papyrus. But this is the first game I've ever modded at the scale that I've done with
That
some
did not
settlements.
work.
Like I've
I'm gonna have to get back to you on how that one, why
okay.
that didn't stick all the way. The entire cloth data. Usually that
Okay, well
works.
that was this. I mean, this was something like way beyond what I had asked too, because I didn't even think about all these cool cloth physics. I was just hoping for the just that information about how to make it so that certain items don't warp, and it seems like the
And
key
I think this the
is
way it stands actually right now. That won't warp either. There's a few at the extra at the top, but the color seems uniform for most of those weights, and it should bounce with the should move like it was a pair of binoculars and look unrealistic, but
right,
it's
right.
just a
It looked
pouch.
terrible, but right, but it
But
was just an idea.
there's a lot of bone weights out there, and a lot of cloth physics. You just pay attention when the
Yeah,
NPCs and the vanilla outfits, especially the bulky ones or the main NPCs, they're just little touches that some really, really good outfit makers at Bethesda made. I mean, when you think of the amount of detail in these outfits for as few polys as they are,
yeah,
they did a really good job. I mean, it's one of the few. Not, I shouldn't really say that about Beth, but it's one of the areas that Fallout 4 shines. I think is everything they got out of designing these outfits and the realism for such small space that they took up, and how highly
yeah.
efficient these and reduced these polys are.
Well, and you can see that the amount of depth they've actually pulled off when you look at some of the big outfit pack mods that have been done, all just with mashups and stuff. Like even like the initial launch, I know you make fun of this because you've been involved with it, but like the Raider overhaul, like the amount they were able to do in the initial release, like just doing mashups without adding custom meshes. There's just so much.
Oh
There's
yeah,
just so much to play with.
Max Max did the original release of Mad Max. Some forget the number after the name. Did the original release, and he's another good guy at stretching every little bit of resources. That he did the entire all of Raider Overhaul, the original one. All the
Yeah.
retextures were done in GIMP.
Wow.
Yeah, even that street sign Raider armor that everybody fell in love with was done in GIMP.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite. I had
Yeah,
love
I
that
mean
stuff.
he's very talented in making very little resources stretch very far and make it turning into a
Yeah.
quality mod. He's
Yeah,
very
I mean,
creative guy
even if
too.
you were, even if you don't use mashups or Outfit Studio or anything crazy like that, even just doing like palette indexing and material swaps and just recombining different armor pieces that are available in vanilla without any NIF editing. I've been able to create some really good combinations of outfit that
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't even seen in the vanilla
that's
game.
I think that's how I got started in. I'm not even gonna call it a real mod. My first non-conversion mod were outfit mashups, and
Yeah.
you get a good feel. You just dump all the outfits you want to combine in Outfit Studio, and you start virtually stitching them together. And
Yeah.
especially if they're all weighted to the same skeleton, if they're all original vanilla outfits, you don't even have to bother with the weighting. They're all gonna move the same anyway.
Right. Yeah. The weighting is one of those. It's super complicated to get right, and I again I think if I ever get a chance to have a chat with the who's the creator of this? Is it Anoctium that run? No, not
No,
Anoctium.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Osnius.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was
Okay.
another one of those. A lot of vowels in it.
Yeah.
The Onisius would be to like reverse the masking thing. Make it by default. It should just be like whatever I click on, that's the thing I want to operate on, not vice versa.
Yeah,
Because that would make this a whole lot more intuitive for the majority.
he's done a
And
lot of good work with Outfit Studio, I think, and
it's hard. It's very challenging to get into because the like even I've even gone to their wiki and through the documentation, and it's mostly about documenting hotkeys and and ideas of things, but there's very little in the way of here's an example of a workflow. Like there's very little tutorial, so you have to rely on tutorials third parties have put together, which are hit or miss.
and the YouTube ones are pretty old these days too.
Yeah,
Outfit
yeah.
Studio has
We
been
could
around
we
a
could
while.
definitely use an updated like batch of tutorials, but and that's something that I would like to tackle, but I don't have nearly the experience necessary to get all the information. So I'm pretty reliant on picking brains like yours to try and get the information to try and turn it into a useful tutorial, but that is even a challenge in itself because I don't fully understand it still. But hopefully we'll eventually get to a point where we've got all that information out there, especially if although it'll be funny. Like one of the things that's always driven me to keep making all these tutorials and stuff is Bethesda does not make massive sweeping changes between game engines. So I know that any of this information I'm putting out there will be useful for 10, 15 years because it'll probably be good in their next game. But now
that a few tweaks, it'll be good in the next game.
Right. But some of the stuff they've been showing off for like the little bit they've shown off for Elder Scrolls 6 looks
they've
so
shown some of the
dramatically different.
screenshots.
They've shown little bits of like they've shown that they're going hardcore into photogrammetry and like lots of scans and stuff like that is
Cool.
where it's like, oh man, that's going to require probably require pretty massive overhaul to their underlying architecture. So I'm curious how much of that's going to hold true, like how much of what we've been putting out there and all this information we've learned is going to continue to be useful.
They're going to be NIF files. I'll tell you, there's Elric converts from Skyrim to Fallout 4. I mean, I don't know. We're all gonna have to adjust like we always do, and there's gonna be a amount of griping.
Yeah. We'll adjust.
Eventually, it'll settle down, and I mean, just the graphics difference between Skyrim and Fallout 4 is immense too. They introduced real specular, well, not real specular, but a lot better specular mapping.
Right.
In Fallout 4.
Yeah. The improvements from Skyrim and Fallout.
And
I
heard Fallout 76 has real
will you go back
specular.
Yeah, I think it does. Well, people have asked me like, "Will you go back and add some stuff like this to Skyrim?" I was like, "I don't think I can go back to Skyrim. Like, I've done modding Skyrim. Like, it's too hard to go backward once you've tasted the good life."
Yeah, I'm already looking forward to Fallout 5 in 10 years.
Right. Yeah, they need to let everyone forget about the launch of 76 before they can put anything else out with the Fallout name on it.
Yeah, they're still licking their wounds from that one, aren't they?
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I know it's very late now for you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Because Outfit Studio, I think Outfit Studio and outfit mashups is one of those things where anybody this is such an awesome spot for people to start if they want to get into modding. Because I think outfit mods and weapon mods are like two of the biggest categories where you can get a lot of traction real easily, which is inspiring.
I'll show you guys a little bit. I'll leave them with the right field build coming up from the next installment of Shen Sheriff's Department. I'm about to minimize the window to see my wallpaper.
Okay, nice. But yeah, I think this is such an awesome thing to get started with, but it's so hard to get started with because the data is not great right now that's available, or it's hard to know which of the data is worth using. and then the some of those things will get people stuck, like the weighting and the solid objects and stretching. But I think some of what you just showed there should be useful about the.
Oh, let's be frank. Modders are dicks too. They don't like turning over information and stuff.
I don't think that's I don't think that's true. I think
come on.
I think
You're too nice.
I think I try to be nice, but I think it's actually I think modders use so much of their free time to create this stuff that when people ask them to handhold them through it, it annoys a lot of people. So they're just like,
you have to show some initiative.
They want to make sure you, right. They want to know you've shown initiative. Like, so like when I come to you guys, someone like you and ask, that I've gone the miles to try and learn this stuff because like
you'll turn it into a real mod eventually too.
Right.
I think Charlocran on the X-Edit server said, don't ask to ask. Just ask your damn question and make it as detailed as possible, and you most likely get a response. And then there's Discord is like one where you ever heard of Cunningham's Law?
No, it's nothing not coming to the top of my head, but
that is that law that says on the internet the best way to get the right answer is not to ask the question, it's to pose the wrong answer. And somebody will come along and go, but actually, and correct you. So you have to know how to ask. And I find Discord is one place that holds true, and there's some people who just can't help but correct you.
Oh, I'm one of those people. When I see people put up misinformation in our Discord server, I'm like, because I tend to read. I love read. We have a bunch of channels, and I love reading those just to see, like, if there's any nuggets I didn't know, or like to see what people are interested in. And if somebody puts out wrong information, I'm like, all right, I gotta correct that, because I don't want. I hate that there's so much misinformation that gets spread around the mod community too. About like, there's a lot of stuff people still talk about from like Skyrim days that they like then are worried about in Fallout 4, but it's no longer applicable. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of people who are old school modders will be like, don't ever use globals, they're super dangerous. And it's like, that's not really the case anymore. Like the amount of memory we have makes that not super relevant. Computers have gone way beyond
the game uses a lot of the globals, I noticed.
Yeah, you can get, and sometimes they're the right tool for the job. But like, obviously you don't need it all the time, but there's stuff like that gets passed around the modding community of like, don't do this. But it's like, yeah, you've been repeating that since Morrowind. Like, it's no longer true. So I like to kind of nip that stuff in the bud when I find things that are bad information that's getting passed around.
Well, I mean, a lot of the game is the game engine is deprecated, so why not the advice too?
Right. All right, Monkey. It has been awesome having you. Thank you again. If you guys haven't checked out Monkey, do so. What's the name? What is the name? I keep getting the name wrong. It's Diamond City Bleacher Story? What is the name?
It's a Diamond City Story. There we go. It's there. That's now you viewers can see the Slocum show in right field coming up. It's the district is called the Bleachers, and if you look out in the Diamond City stadium, and if you go walk along the east side of Diamond City on the outside though, on the fens, and you look up on the stadium wall, there's a lot of unused space that Bethesda never used, and I'm trying to fill that in. And you can see that's that picture right there. You see the ceiling in there is sloped, so that's right there is under the bleachers. That's right field. Cool. Nobody's seen that yet. But
now, is this screenshot in there right now, or is this future content?
This is future content.
Got it. Very cool.
That is in the green zone. There's going to be there's actually going to be family members in there. I plan on having a couple of kids and even a clone of Baby Sean called Baby something else, but and part of the quest will be to earn their trust and get access to the green zone.
Oh, cool.
But it's insane amount of custom assets already I've made, because I get bored and I make custom assets. I'll go, I'm freaking tired of a quest, so what am I going to do? I'll make some role-playing dice today. Or before we even got started, I was telling you, right now I'm making a blood bug in Ambridge, a la Jurassic Park. I don't know how that occurred to me. But
cool. And the thing you described, I immediately thought of the lightning bug in the bottle in Skyrim, of like that you'll have kind of that look going on, except it'll be in a liquid.
Oh, now you just gave me an idea.
Awesome, man. Before you leave, if anybody out there watching in chat, if you guys have any questions for Monkey or myself, toss them out there because we're gonna wrap up in just a few minutes here. But yeah, your stuff. I've only poked my head into Bleacher because it if I load it with my full playthrough, it causes problems, and I'm gonna play through.
Yeah, that was that.
But I figure by the time
my feelings.
I have so many. It's that is the problem. My method for this character, and resulted in chaos, and it's gonna happen again with my next character. But I've taken to like just letting the audience decide my mod list by suggesting mods, and so
Here,
it gets to a point where
let me take your players to right field real quick.
Okay, cool. It gets to a point eventually where I'm like, all right, well, now I can't have both of these mods together, and I don't want to blow up this character intentionally. Like, I'm fine if a character blows up, like, just because I was experimenting or, like, overdid it in a settlement, but I hate to have it happen because I decided just to install 2 mods that are strictly incompatible.
Yeah, I don't know what could be... You said it crashes the main field of Diamond City?
Yeah, it crashes outside of crashes outside of Diamond City.
Outside of Diamond City.
Yeah, if I go right into Diamond City, it's fine. But again, like I said, I have 250 some mods, so I have no. It could be any of them. It could be just a load order issue. But it's like I only have 2 or 3 hours a week to play. So
yeah, that's a lot. I hardly play that much at all myself.
No. Well, I force myself for the to make sure I remember what I'm adding to the game. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to lose sight of the actual gameplay that you're adding stuff to, and so
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Are you seeing it? Is it coming through yours already?
Yeah, I saw the little amber thing with the
this is a character called Sister Luna. She used to be in the Children of Adam. Cool. And then she got pregnant and she fled the island to save her kid from the radiation. And
okay, a bunch of questions are coming through now. My chat is super delayed, guys, because it runs through Restream. Let's see here. Is there a missing system in CK which you would like to have? UI stuff. I would love if they would make the UI dynamic and able to have us all be able to plug in. Right now we have to rely on HUD framework, which is super slow unless you run through F4SE. UI stuff is something I miss horribly. Next question. Would it be a good idea to try making a faction pack with quests now or wait till Conqueror is finished? I would say now's a great time. So Conqueror, the big feature remaining for Conqueror, most of the stuff we're going to be adding is either quest content for Jammer and company, because we have a big plan for that, because we're trying to expand the options for players to go evil playthrough. There's one big system that we're going to be adding, and that's going to take months. I mean, it's going to be probably, I can't even give you an estimate, 5, 6, 7 months, I don't know, but we call it phase 3, and that's the ability to have the game operate kind of like a civilization game where the factions are operating independently, attacking each other, taking over settlements, stuff like that.
That would be awesome.
It's going to be sweet, but it's. I don't think it'll negatively affect faction packs if you work on them now. I think that by default, as long as your faction pack is fully fleshed out, it will just naturally work with that system once we get to that. So that's and it'll just be what tends to happen if you ask anybody else who's made add-on packs of any type for Sim Settlements is usually once I am about to launch some new feature that would have a heavy impact on those, I reach out to all those authors a few weeks or months before we launch and give them an inside scoop so they can start preparing. So there's never a bad time to start working on.
Look, the stream is finally catching up to me starting the game 5 minutes ago.
This space you're in is amazing.
Which one are you in right now?
You're in like some sort of crazy cave with all these weird
the pulsing lights. Uranium ore and stuff. Why do you see the fish at the bottom that glow?
It looks awesome.
I took the the Adam's Judgment, how it leaves that little green mist behind it where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, hook that up to a fish, so the fish was little.
Oh, that looks amazing. Yeah, I love all the experiments you do with.
This is the cistern
and FX.
This is where McClintock stores her water. Don't ask me why she stores it with uranium ore in it, and it's how it rains pure. We don't care about that kind of stuff. It just looks pretty.
It looks really pretty. Bob Silent, you said something about guards and vassals. That bug should have been fixed a while ago. But if you're still experiencing it on the latest version, definitely report that on our forums.
See that amber there at the first? I don't know if the players see that mosquito and amber.
I'm not sure if we're caught up to where you're at. I still saw the last thing I saw was the fish.
I think I'm paying attention on YouTube. I don't know where you guys.
Yeah, if you just look at my stream, you'll see where we're at. Well, actually, I guess you won't. Who knows what that will end up like.
Yeah, that's the market district of right field. I call it the stubs because somebody was trapped in there. That's where the ticket windows were, and somebody was trapped in there during the war. And before he died, he took 10,000 tickets and tore them in half, and basically died in some ticket stubs. And that's how they found him. So it is called the stubs.
Awesome. All right. I think that's wrapping it up for questions. I'm not seeing any more pop up. We'll check on my thing. It's so hard to tell with this restream. Kind of sucks. Okay, yeah, you were still rocking the old version. Yeah, definitely update to the latest version. That should fix it. It probably will still be an issue the first time you visit all those vassals. They'll probably be screwed up, but you can get those straightened out. Did my stream just die? Or did yours die, Monkey?
I don't... well, I stopped mine. I stopped,
you stopped yours.
I stopped the game. You should be seeing my wallpaper now.
Gotcha. No, my thing like wigged out on me, and I thought I got cut off. Okay, so going back to the question that somebody asked, what's your end goal vision for Sim Settlements? My end goal is still the same I defined at the very first time I released Sim Settlements. If you ever go back and watch my release videos, and that is I'm trying to make the settlement experience completely seamless with the rest of the game, so it feels like it's something you naturally want to participate in, as opposed to like a throwaway system like it is in the vanilla game, where you can completely ignore settlements outside of the end of the Minutemen quest where you have to build the teleporter. There's literally, you can ignore settlements. They're pointless. They have no impact. My goal is to set up a system in which the settlements are not only required for you to get through your playthrough, but you want to be a part. You want to be involved with them, and that's why we introduce a lot of the systems we do. So not everybody wants to build, and that's fine. That's why we have the city plan, so they can build for you. But it's extended now. So originally, that's how I started with Sim Settlements. I always had a dream of a second mod that was going to be very war related. Was going to be setting up factions to fight each other and have kind of a, like the Skyrim Civil War type thing that never was. Have that in Fallout. And that's what Conqueror has kind of been exploring, and that's why Conqueror is going to get a much longer dev cycle, because to do that is just a massive undertaking. So it's going to take us a couple years to get that done. And then on top of that, we then expanded into quest modding with Conqueror, and the next expansion for SS is also going to have quests, because in order to get that feel like this is actually part of the game, it has to have quests. Like, that's how you teach people. You can't, if you dump all these mechanics on people's lap without an explanation, or if the explanation is, here's a brick wall of text to read, or you have to watch these 10 videos, you just lose people. Like, it's not fun. So the quests allow us to like slowly drip feed you all of this content and features. All right, Monkey. I don't know about you, but I am ready to crash for the night, or at least stop talking.
Yeah, my wife is going to want to know where the hell I am.
Right on. All right, thanks, man, for being a part of this. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care, and this will be up on there. So if any of you guys need to
reference, to download the Bleachers.
Go download the Bleachers. And if any of you guys needs to reference this stuff for modding things, it'll be up on the channel forever. You can always watch it again. And I'll probably take some of this stuff and try and convert it into proper, shorter tutorials for Bethesda. All right. Good night, everybody. All right. That went really well. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sure thing, man. I do appreciate it.